What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Wednesday show. Again, a couple minutes late getting started. No surprises there, really. Had to get a couple quick updates in. Wanted to update the Vegas lines before we went live. Threw up the current projection, the current confirmed lineups up onto the website. So we've got the latest and greatest. Looks like the Nationals dropped after I did that, but we've got most of them up on the site right now for what's already confirmed. About halfway there, maybe a little bit less than halfway there as far as confirmations go. We had a little bit of a change from the initial setup from this morning. I initially went with Jadiel Rodriguez going for the opener role for the Blue Jays. Now we have it confirmed that it's going to be Eric Lauer in bulk relief, so I switched that out. That got updated a little while ago. But it's a really ugly, interesting slate, so it should be a fun one to talk through. We've got 8 games on FanDuel. DraftKings did include the 9th game, which is the St. Louis-Cincinnati game 2, so just be aware, a little bit different slate site to site. But we will dive into it as usual. Let's say hi to everybody, though. Cujo's here. Hope you're having a good hump day too, pal. Beyond the rabbit hole, good to see you. Quiet in chat so far. A few people hanging out, others trickling in as we get started. As other shows are ending, others are going live. We'll see what we get. Really appreciate everybody who shows up for this show. When we get started, whenever you're starting this broadcast, just hit the like button, the little thumbs up down there. It does help out on the algorithms. If you guys are feeling it too, dive in, leave a quick comment. If something goes well, if I blew a pick, if I say something stupid, more fun that way. Feel free to jump into comments, add comments to the YouTube videos, because that does feed the algorithm a little bit as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. That definitely helps. Need to keep pushing that number up a little bit, so that we can do some better things with the channel. There's Tizzle, man. What's going on, man? I assume everybody who's here so far already knows the website. It's rotoscouts.com. But if you're unfamiliar, go give it a look. Access to all 3 major sports that are currently in play is under $1 a day, all in for all 3. Projections are live already for NBA and NHL tonight. 2 basketball games, 3 hockey games, and this baseball slate going on. This one also starts up at 6:35, so just be aware of that. We'll be adding plenty of time for that start, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, but we will. But that'll be the first thing up, and then more sane start times on the basketball slate and the hockey slates today. Weather-wise for this slate, it does look like there's a little bit of a threat for the game 2 in Cincinnati. Roth downgraded it to a yellow. Still seems like he feels more like it's a delay rather than a rainout, especially with it being a reschedule already. And then the game in the White Sox game, Brewers at White Sox. He's got his yellow-green over there at RG or on his Twitter feed. And seems like it's very light rain and going to play through it. We don't have the crazy wind conditions that we had yesterday. They created a ton of runs in the Yankees-Baltimore game. The Yankees went out there and again, 4 of the 5 first hitters of the game hit home runs. Ridiculous. Yeah, I'm aware, Larry. Thanks. We're in radio mode right now. I told everybody who was here yesterday, took a tumble while I was out in Cleveland and just have a scrape on like the side of my face and a little bit of a bruise. So just staying off camera for the next couple of days, letting that heal up. I look pretty grotesque right now. Not fit for men nor beasts to have to stare at my ugly mug. More so than usual. But I'll be back. Probably figure Monday I'll be back on camera. Try not to miss me too much. My beautiful blue eyes. No, I'm perfectly fine. It's literally a tiny, it's a scrape. I scraped on my hands. Like I caught myself mostly with my hands, and I didn't catch myself quite enough. So I didn't full on mash my head into the gravel that I fell into. But I did just graze it enough that I scraped my face, and it was enough to make a little bit of an impact and a bruise. But it's absolutely nothing. It was funny the entire weekend. Trust me, we had a great time. For those who weren't here, quick recap: we had a blast in Cleveland. That ballpark is terrific. We saw the Guardians unfortunately get destroyed by the Red Sox on Sunday, but we had an absolutely great time just hanging out at the ball game. Beautiful weather that day. Walked through Cleveland on the way back, stopping here, stopping there for food, drink, etc., etc. Night before, we saw a show. H2O and the Bouncing Souls were both very good. Blast at the show. And then just tied one on, had 5 too many at the after hours places after the show, and that's where I took the tumble. But say la vie, it happens. Larry says, sounds like my 20s walking from Donovan's in Seabright. Yeah, I definitely had those kind of nights at Donovan's in Seabright as well. So, yeah, I'm with you. Red Bank. We did a lot of reminiscing about the old the Globe in Red Bank and Brannigan's in Red Bank and the Walt Street Tavern in Red Bank, which is no longer there, unfortunately. I think Brannigan's is something different now, too. Donovan's, I heard Donovan's got rebuilt, right? After like back after Sandy a while back, and it's like big now. And then the other one over there was the Mad Hatter, right? That's not there anymore. I haven't been over in Seabright in a long, long time. Anyway. Yeah, but still divey. All right, that's good. Mad Hatter's gone. Yeah, figured. Yeah, we went over that way a fair amount, which never made sense considering the drive back to Middletown, but say la vie. Anyway. Let's dive in on the Vegas board before people get bored of two people reminiscing about Central Jersey and the Jersey Shore. Yanks, Orioles, 9.5 run total in this one. This obviously went off yesterday. Definitely looks like an interesting spot again today. It's Carlos Carrasco on the mound for the Yankees. Very gettable pitcher to throw some Orioles bats at, but he does have that veteran quality, I guess I'll say, where he could go through them and give you 5 fairly clean innings. He's done that a couple times this season. Did it to Toronto the last time out as an example. He doesn't have much DFS upside. He's only going to strike out 2 to 4 hitters. But there could be the lane through which he's better than one might expect and keeps the Orioles off that Vegas total. I greatly prefer the Orioles bats at a 4.94 implied total, one of the highest on the highest on the board now. And then the Yankees on the other side drawing a 4.66 going up against Cade Povich. Not much he's going to be able to do to suppress the Yankees bats. He is a talented kid. It's still finding his way in the show. He's made a couple decent starts, including the last time out against Washington, but definitely seeing the upside of the Yankees bats. Aaron Judge is at like a 16 in the home run model as the highest ranked player of the day. Chicago Cubs at the Pirates. Cubbies favored pretty heavily, 4.81 implied total for that excellent offense. They're going up against Carmen Mlodzinski. The one thing that he does is kind of clip the power a little bit, so they're not exactly pulling great home run numbers, but as far as sequencing, run creation, that's the ideal team to throw into that situation for DFS purposes. So I think we can chase that good lineup and that run total. On the other side, 3.8 implied total for the Pirates going up against Matthew Boyd. Boyd's been surprisingly effective throughout the season. Even that game against the Dodgers where I was saying it would come to a screaming halt. He's beaten the Dodgers, he's not beaten the Dodgers twice. He did beat them the last time out. He's gotten through the Dodgers fairly effectively twice, 3 earned runs in both games. Although the last time out, he allowed 10 hits, 6 runs, just 3 of them earned. And 2 home runs. So maybe not entirely unscathed. But against the Pirates, could be a day to at least take a look. And that's one of the lower totals on the board. You can see the quality of today's pitching via those run totals. Look at all those mid-4 and above totals that we've got today. Nobody rocketing into the 5s, though, notably. So we've got a lot of same across some of the good offenses going up against some bad pitching. That Cardinals and Reds game, this is game 2. It is on the DraftKings slate. It's Steven Matz going for the Cards. He's been pitching in relief. He's made 1 start this season. He went 5 innings back on the 16th. I think we get him for like 4 or 5 innings. Tops. So I don't think so. And he's not that good. And he's pitching in this bandbox. Reds are drawing a 4.65 implied total. Draw your own conclusions. On the other side, it's Chase Petty, who just got the call up last night. He's a highly ranked prospect for them, pitching pretty well in AAA over 5 starts this season. I just don't love the idea of on a day where they're probably just looking to get 5 from him and get him out of there. The opposing team is drawing a 4.45 implied total, making his debut in their home park. I'd rather get him, I think, on the road for a safer one before throwing him into this ballpark. But he does have talent. The Nats and the Phillies. Our home run pick of the day comes from the Phillies. They're drawing a 4.83 implied total against Jake Irvin. If you know me at all, you know that the home run pick of the day is Kyle Schwarber against that pitcher. Schwarbs looks like a monster today with his contact rates against what Jake Irvin gives up. And he's not as popular as he should be, at least per the one site that I checked for ownership. So love the call and had to make it. That was the spot we hit yesterday. Finally got back on the board. There's a little bit of a drought. I was talking about it in Discord. The team-by-team picks have been firing off pretty well, but the main overall pick, I think I had 2 on the board and an extended slump over 10-plus days, I'd say. It happens a couple times a season, but it sucks to get it early in the season. So I was happy to break that yesterday, hoping to go back-to-back with a Schwartz pick, but I love the Phillies upside against Irvin here. And then it's Christopher Sanchez, like the top-end pitcher of the entire slate, going up against the Nationals, keeping them down at a 3.27 implied total, looking pretty juicy or pretty solid as a starting pitching option. The Royals against the Rays. We have Drew Rasmussen on the mound for the Rays. He's got the Royals checked down to 3.58. He's one of the more established quality pitchers on this slate. I think we can at least consider him. But I'm going to say that I like that Kansas City lineup better than Vegas does here, and they're low strikeout most of the time. Got to get some of those bats going, but not entirely safe on the Rasmussen side. And then we've got another pitcher making his debut for Kansas City. It's Noah Cameron, one of their more highly regarded prospects. We'll give him some thought, but a 4.51 implied total pitching in AAA ballpark down in Tampa Bay, not exactly ideal going up against that hard-hitting Rays team. So I don't love that one. The Red Sox, the Blue Jays. This is now Eric Lauer in either a full start or bulk relief, probably for 4 or so innings. We might see Yadiel Rodriguez still open for the Blue Jays. But either way, one of the highest totals on the board, 4.81 implied total for the Red Sox. Loving the upside for them again. We'll see what version of the lineup we get. I reverted, once we got Lauer, I switched it to the versus lefties lineup, which over the last couple games, they've been starting Romy Gonzalez at first base and sitting Tristan Casas against lefties. We'll see what they do, especially if Rodriguez does open up the right as the righty. We'll see what happens with Casas. Either way, Red Sox bats are going to look good. Blue Jays bats also going to look good. The Red Sox are going with Lucas Giolito on the mound. This is his first start of this season. He has been pitching in AAA since camp broke. He did throw 80-plus pitches, 85 pitches in his last outing. He just hasn't been good in AAA at all, but it's AA and AAA, but it's really all about just getting stretched out. They don't really care what the results look like, but just to put numbers on it, 5.19 ERA and a 1.79 whip across 17 and a third innings in those starts. But the fact that he's stretched out is at least encouraging. But the 4.79 implied total that the Blue Jays are drawing, the fact that this game's dead even with a high total between those two teams, don't really love the spot. And the Blue Jays have a couple additional pieces, so they're not quite as top-heavy as they were. Hey, Max Muncy finally homered. Like Dalton Varsho's back in that lineup. So maybe the Blue Jays are a little deeper now. Arizona and the Mets, I don't expect the ball to be flying like it did yesterday. The Mets destroyed poor Eduardo Rodriguez, hit a bunch of home runs. We were expecting that with the wind, or at least we talked about that with the wind. But this one could be interesting again. We've got Oscar Brazelban opening for the Mets, and then it's going to be Brandon Waddell in bulk relief. And Brandon Waddell has not pitched in the show since 2021, I want to say. Yeah, 2021. He's been in AAA for the Mets this year. He was in AAA for the Cards in 22. He's pitched 3 years in the KBO in the interim. So really interesting, shaky pitching spot there. And then the Mets are going to be facing Corbin Burns, which is obviously an upside pitcher on this slate, but they're drawing a 4.31 implied total against him, and he's been good, effective, but not the peak Corbin Burns that we once knew and loved. So I think the Mets could find some bat on ball here. It's going to be definitely a both-sided situation. The Brewers at the White Sox, just a 7.5 run total here. The White Sox relegated to 3.38. They're going to be facing Tobias Myers, not a pitcher who usually pushes teams down to that level. It just shows you how bad the White Sox are. They did put a couple good bats on ball last night. Lubob had a good game last night, but you just don't get much out of that team. The Brewers, they're going to be facing Shane Smith, who has been reasonably effective so far this season. Struck out 7 in his last game, 4 hits over 5 innings against Minnesota. You could see a similar start out of him with a little bit of upside for some Ks. So maybe a discount pitcher that we can at least consider, but the Brewers are drawing a 4.20 implied total against, so their bats are going to be on the board as well. And then we're rounding things out with the Athletics and the Rangers. It's Nathan Eovaldi, the other plus pitcher on this slate. Tim and Christopher Sanchez, if we're shopping up at the top of the board. 8.5 run total in that one. The Athletics, with all their solid power bats, 3.88 implied total against Eovaldi. He is very good 7 strikeouts in each of his last 2. He's allowed 3 home runs over the course of the season, but he's already got a complete game shutout on the board, been pitching deep into games. So I like the Eovaldi option. And then the Rangers are drawing a 4.72 implied total against Luis Severino. They are one of the top-ranked teams for implied runs. They're the top-ranked team on the power index today, which is kind of odd given the way that they've been out of the gate for home run upside. So we're going to have to give them some consideration as an interesting stack. But it is an ugly pitching slate. And it's an unsorted pitching slate. All right, so Matz and Petty, keep in mind not on your FanDuel slate for anybody playing on the blue side. Starting up at the top, as I just mentioned, that's the class of the slate. Either one of those guys in whatever lineup you want to put him in. Christopher Sanchez is way too cheap at 8,200 on DraftKings. He's been pitching way better than that. He is more talented than that. FanDuel's got it right at about 10-2. Exactly 10-2. He got... What the hell happened there? Was that a rain out? Why did he only go 2 innings in his last start? I didn't catch that. Faced 11 hitters. What happened there? Either way, Sanchez against this team is definitely at a discount. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he came out after 2 innings with a forearm issue. That's right. That was a week plus ago. So that probably explains why they discounted him. FanDuel didn't give you any credit for a discount there, but all reporting is that he's fully healthy. Everything's okay. Just a blip. Obviously, it'll be something to watch in the long term. If that could be a tiebreaker for you, then go Eovaldi. Eovaldi's got just as much upside. They project almost exactly the same on the DraftKings slate, similar enough on FanDuel, and Eovaldi's cheaper on FanDuel, a little bit more expensive, obviously, on the DraftKings board. I'd completely forgotten about him coming out of that game. Rasmussen against KC. My only skepticism is around KC's hit tools and some of the quality in that lineup that we talk about, but he's good enough to get through. 92, not ideal on FanDuel, but projects competitively with the top of the board. 88, better price on DraftKings, and again, competitive up top. Boyd is the one out of the top 3 that I probably believe in the least. I probably believe in Corbin Burns a lot more than Matthew Boyd as well, but it's an undeniably good matchup against the Pirates. Couple hitters to worry about there, some strikeouts available for him. I don't love paying 94 for him as a standalone starter, but I would. 8,400 is much more comfortable on DraftKings. Burns would definitely take some shots and chase the, full-on return to form. He struck out more in his most recent game, so hopefully a good sign. But the Mets are very dangerous and loaded lineup, so I don't love that spot, but I would play that spot at 91,900, especially with a bit of a discount on the FanDuel side from everybody above him. Myers, you're just playing the cheap matchup against the White Sox. It's really all it is. Sevy, with the way that the Rangers are drawing upside against, I don't love it, especially at 88 on the FanDuel slate. At 8,000 on DraftKings, it's a little bit more viable probably, but the Rangers are really pulling big numbers against him. We'll have to give him some consideration. He's made some good starts. Jake Irvin, I don't like either. This is getting really ugly really fast. Irvin, just with everything the Phils are pulling against him, really not seeing it for him today. He projects out okay, and we are talking about the middle of the board, and it's not going to get much better from here. Shane Smith probably is a slightly better option going up against that Brewers lineup. A little bit less power, a little bit more upside maybe for Shane Smith. 75, 7,000. You get him a little bit cheaper. On FanDuel, he actually projects out slightly higher. It's essentially the same on DraftKings. So I would probably lean Smith over Irvin. Povich is really difficult to consider on FanDuel. 74. That Yankees lineup is incredibly threatening against a young lefty. I don't really like it. At 55 on DraftKings, we're going to have to at least talk about it. Giolito, I don't know that we get the depth. That Toronto lineup is pretty low strikeout. He hasn't been good in AAA, probably not considering it. 78 for Steven Matz, when we're probably getting 4 innings, maybe 5, but in that bandbox with high totals against, no thank you. 4,000 for Noah Cameron, we're going to have to consider, despite the bad ballpark, because it's dead min price for a high-end prospect. I don't know what the depth is going to look like. 66 for Petty, probably not. And for Cameron, 6,000 on FanDuel is also probably not. You've got Lauer at 6,000 against Boston, at least kind of a more established guy, but not very good. Also probably not. in line to pitch deep. Even in a full start, probably doesn't pitch deep. If he works in bulk relief, then you're just talking about taking the win off the board, the quality start off the board. It's really, really dicey. Ledzinski, you would just be chasing the idea of like 5 and change innings of not allowing a home run to the Cubs and letting them scratch out whatever runs and no strikeout upside. He is very, very cheap. Carrasco is difficult to envision succeeding here, and Brazoban's only going to pitch for an inning. Ugly, ugly pitching slate. What's going on, gang? Yeah, thanks for throwing that in, Larry. I was, like I said, that had completely slipped my mind. It's funny. I was away for 3 days, and I did projections every single day, but like just being out of touch more with watching highlights, following every single day of baseball the last 3 days. I feel like I was gone for a month, and I forgot everything that's recently happened. So yeah, that one for whatever reason just fell out of my head that he had come out of that game. But by all accounts, perfectly fine. I think we're getting a full start. There is no reporting of a pitch count today. Obviously, they'll be watching him. So again, if you're a little bit risk averse and you consider him and Eovaldi essentially tied up top, I think you're all right. So the Yanks pulling a 4.66 implied total. They're going up against Cade Povich. Again, Povich is a prospect pitcher for this Orioles team. He went 6 2/3, faced 25 Nationals in his last start, was fairly effective. 1 earned run on 4 hits, struck out 5, walked just 1. But he's had some bumpy outings along the way. 3 home runs allowed to the Reds in a start that was not in Cincinnati. Gave up 7 earned, over 3 1/3 on 6 hits, walked 5 and struck out 4 in that one. So you can get the downside outings out of Cade Povich. It's kind of bottling up his numbers down here. 5.04 ERA with a 4.04 xFIP underneath it. So you can see there is some quality hiding there. But a 1.72 whip so far is atrocious. Swinging strikes in CSW not where they need to beat a team like the Yankees as far as just allowing frequency of contact, let alone quality of contact, which these guys can certainly find on their own, and he's already allowing. So matching up a 9.8% barrel rate allowed so far in the small sample, 45+% hard hits, 90+. All of these are at or around our concern threshold. 3.51% home runs in the small sample, just 20% strikeouts. Everything is speaking to us about the Yankees' upside here. Definitely think they're interesting. They're one of the top ranked stacks of the day. Last season, Povich made 16 starts, had a sub 20% strikeout rate. Essentially, all of this was the same outside of the hard hit was a little bit lower and the exit velo was a little bit lower, but he had a more inflated average launch angle. So he's given up even bigger fly balls. Stuff plus was lower end. It's come up a little bit, but we're still 5.5 points below average, or 4.5 points. So not an overly appealing pitcher outside of if you wanted to throw a few darts at 5,500 against the Yankees with their free swinging nature. You can see that confirmed or projected version of the Yanks lineup. Let's see if we got it. We do not, but we do have the O's. So there are a lot of strikeouts in this Yankees lineup. Whether he goes and finds them is a whole other story. This looks, we'll see about that bottom end as far as this projected version of the lineup. But he's got some troubling righties up top. One of them is slashing 412, 507, 728 for the season so far. His created runs 151% better than average by WRC+. 23.3% barrels, 57% hard hits. Leads the entire day in the home run model with a 16.72. Aaron Judge, love the upside for power here. Love the upside for him to get his 10th home run on the board. Even if he doesn't, he's just providing scoring basically every day. The run creation's ridiculous. The walk rate is ridiculous. Strikeouts are down. He's, again, hitting 400 plus right now. Over 136 plate appearances, which is not nothing. It's not a good sample, but it's not nothing. Goldie in the top spot for the Yanks, 42,300. Continuing his great start to the season so far. He's not really hitting for power, but he's doing everything else. And honestly, the way they're utilizing him, that works. 363, 411, 460. A 372 xWOBA suggesting that this is entirely real. 153 WRC plus. Love him in the leadoff spot. I want Judge in the 2 spot, regardless of who's on the mound, but we've talked about that plenty. Cody Bellinger, we'll see if we get him in, hitting second. against the lefty, 45-31. He's been struggling. 206, 283, 361 is not pretty. The xWOBA is indicating to us that the struggles are quite real right now. 82 WRC plus is ugly. We're really just riding with player history here. The low strikeout rate, the high walk rate against a young pitcher, 44.2% hard hit rate so far this season. The fact that he's got the 8.31 in the home run model in the 2 spot. If he dips and assuming he's in the lineup at all, but if he was down, say hitting 6th, that number would come down some. There is a lineup spot factor involved in the home run number. So just bear that in mind. Volpe at 42-28, not a bad purchase at shortstop given the power upside. 5 home runs on the season. He has been driving the ball, 225 ISO, 11% barrels, 46.8% hard hits. Creating runs 24% better than average and a very solid 346 xWOBA. Strikeouts are still a problem. They're back up to last year, 2 years ago's rate. 10.2% walks is at least up. Against a middling lefty, he should see some upside for the cheap pricing, and he helps average Aaron Judge's price down, if nothing else. Austin Wells, solid catcher bat, 13% barrels, 52% hard hits. He's hit 5 home runs. Doesn't give you a ton of on-base or correlated scoring ability, but can definitely turn on one as a very affordable catcher at those prices in this stack, or honestly as a standalone. Jason Dominguez, 50% hard hit rate is appealing. He's striking out too much, but he's at least drawing some walks. 303 to xWOBA suggests there's work to be done still. He's at least getting on at a 330 clip, partly because of those walks. He's created runs 9% better than average via WRC+, 2 homers, 3 steals. It's just not been exactly up to expectations. But the kid's got talent. I think you can work him in at those prices. He's more than just another outfielder, and you're getting an okay price on DraftKings. Okay price on both sites, really. Pablo Reyes, Oswaldo Cabrera, and Oswald Peraza at the bottom of the lineup. Mix and match pieces. Cabrera continues to not really be this guy. He does this for brief stretches, and then he reverts to form, as we see with a lot of weak hitters. Last year, over 326, despite a stretch like this of more plate appearances, he finished at 247, 296, 365, 12% below average for run creation. Showed really no power overall. He had a 117 ISO. He had 8 oddball home runs, and that gives some people some ideas that maybe he's good. He's really not good. He's just a quality utility guy that the Yankees in real life baseball can play at any position. Peraza is actually the interesting bat down there. He's made 32 plate appearances. We'll see whether or not he's in the lineup. He's hit 1 home run, 264 xWOBA. It's interesting just in what the prospect pedigree once was. But really, I'm kind of just shying away from the bottom of the Yankees lineup. Pablo Reyes just doesn't even belong on a major league roster right now. On the Orioles side, they're going up against Carlos Carrasco. So we're sitting at a 15.6% strikeout rate, a 5.26 ERA with a 4.70 xFIP. He's giving up way too much premium contact and power. I don't think there's any real reason to consider Carrasco here, other than what I said at the beginning of the show. He is a veteran pitcher who, on the odd day, can get through a lineup like this over 5 innings and pitch cleanly. Not with much ceiling. And the example I used was his last game. 5 innings, faced 19 Blue Jays, allowed just 3 hits, walked 2, struck out 2. No earned runs. If that does it for you for 57 on DraftKings, he's not entirely unplayable. But you can see what Vegas thinks of it. 4.94 implied total for the Orioles. They're showing a ton of power upside against. It's a deep 9-man lineup. They're loading up some lefties. I just don't see it being anything that has any sort of ceiling on it. But on a day where we are going to have a bunch of people fishing around with some of the dead mid-price pitchers down at the bottom of the board, on a day where we've got multiple opener-follower situations and a couple unclear spots and a whole lot of garbage and a couple kids making their debuts, it's not completely crazy to me if you just want to say, like, well, at least Carlos Carrasco I know was good for a while and has had a couple decent starts this year. Like, maybe we throw him. We're not chasing that sort of a thing as a recommendation. That's not what you're here for. I fully get that. And he does not project well. But it's just that factor of, on a slate like this, could 5 innings of 1-run ball. 2 starts back, he faced the Royals, a very good low strikeout, put the ball in play kind of a team. Faced 18 Royals over 5, gave up 1 hit, 1 earned run. It came on a solo homer, struck out 4 and walked 2. For 5,700, could you be into that today? Could that fit in somehow today and you've bought something else bat-wise? I think it could. It's no more appealing than Cade Povich. It's no less appealing than Cade Povich at price on DraftKings. This is only a DraftKings conversation. With every share of either of these pitchers, I think you take like 2 shares of the opposing lineup in different lineups. There's too much upside in these bats. There's too much downside in these pitchers. Cedric Mullins in the top spot for the Orioles, 56-33. 283, 421, 533, 6 homers, 5 steals, 250 ISO. Started the season completely on fire. Hasn't been quite that hot lately, but still going strong. Is former 30-30 player, 180 WRC plus so far. The 362 xWOBA supports the upside that we've seen. There's nothing not to like about throwing that lefty out of the leadoff spot against this pitcher, except for the fact that he's all the way up at 56 and he's the most expensive Orioles bat. 33 is the most expensive Orioles bat on FanDuel. He's more expensive than Gunnar Henderson, which is absurd. Cedric Mullins, definitely a good player, but come on. 51 for Gunnar is honestly a discount. I know he's at 227, 269, 420. I just don't care. 3 home runs, 2 steals, 93 WRC plus in a very small sample, 93 plate appearances. Just look over here if you need a little encouragement. 9.7% barrels, 58.1% hard hits in his small sample of batted ball events. Striking out a little too much so far, walking a little bit too light so far. This is going to normalize. 11.63 in the home run model. Take the discount and run with it against Carlos Carrasco. Big lefty bat there. 3,200. It's the same thing on FanDuel. Adley Rutschman, switch hitting catcher coming out of Carrasco from the left side. 4,900, 2,900. Adley's struggling with the bat in terms of the hit tool. He's got 4 home runs on the board, though. 384 xWOBA suggests that everything's going to be just fine, and he's just getting unlucky as far as some of the results on the front end here. 100 WRC plus, 10% barrels. Doesn't really strike out, draws a ton of walks. The ideal hitter to throw against a pitcher like this. Ryan O'Hearn, 4,300, 2,800. For everything that he does, you cannot have him that cheap against this pitcher. That's insane. He's a very high-quality lefty bat. So far this season, 11.7% barrels, 53+% hard hits, slashing 300, 372, 557 with a 257 ISO. He's hit 5 homers. He's got a 401 xWOBA. He's mashing. He's very low strikeout, fairly high walk. 12.8% strikeouts, 9% walks this year. Last year, 14%, 9%. That was one of the big things he improved coming over in these last season and a half of quality that he's given us in Baltimore. Look how good these numbers have been. This is way better than a $4,300 first base or outfield option. Lefty bat against Carlos Carrasco. Ramon Laureano, 2,300, 2,400. Honestly, with the power upside, that's a discount. That's a bargain. You can absolutely throw Laureano into Oriole stacks. And given the fact that he's hitting 5th and not 9th where he was originally projected, there's upside there. 6.79 in the home run model. He's barreled a couple balls this year. He's got 3 home runs on the board. Slashing 205, 234, 477. We're not selling him for his batting average skills. But last year, over 300 plate appearances, 255, 307, 428. Creator runs 4% better than average, hit 10 homers, stole 8 bags. He can also run. For those prices, that is an interesting outfield option in your Orioles stacks. Jackson Holiday, Ryan Mountcastle, Houston Kjerstad, Ramon Urias. That could be a stack on its own. You could absolutely stack the bottom 5 here and take the Orioles bottom 5 against Carlos Carrasco for 3,100 a man, 3,140 a man. An outfielder, 2 outfielders, second baseman, first baseman, and third base. So you get some pretty key spots to fill still. You're saving a ton of money that way. Yeah, those results haven't been great in terms of the average, the on-base skills, some of the run creation marks. But these guys are solid, any given slate options. Ryan Mountcastle barreling 13.4% of his batted ball events with a 47.8% hard hit rate. That defies the 191, 240, 270 slash line that he's put up, the .079 ISO that he's put up. We have seen this guy hit for power before, and as long as he continues to make that kind of contact, it will come back. Kjerstad, 14.6% barrels, similar. Across the board, similar to everything I just said about Mountcastle. He's hit 3 homers so far. He's at least carrying a 157 ISO, Mountcastle's probably the better, the higher talent of the two, also more established, but Kjerstad hits lefty. Jackson Holiday, an interesting cheap lefty in the infield, 247, 326, 364, still finding his way, 2 homers, 2 steals, 104 WRC plus, has hit a few balls pretty hard. He's not uninteresting at those prices down here. And then Urias, a guy I bring up anytime he's in the lineup because he can hit you the oddball home run. He's always cheap. He's always completely unowned in this lineup. 3 positions on FanDuel for 2,300 is great. Slashing 279, 346, 353 over 78 plate appearances. The 290 XWOB, but whatever. We're not worried about that with this kind of an option. 1 home run on the board, a 106 WRC plus. Last year he hit 11 in 301 plate appearances. Year before that was bad. 16 home runs in 445 plate appearances back in 22. 9-man lineup for the Orioles. I'll side with Vegas. No, I think the Yanks ranked out higher fantasy points wise. Yankees bats, Orioles bats in a DFS sense, even with Vegas slightly favoring the Orioles in their home park. And then slight lean for Carrasco over Povich, only on DraftKings, but really neither one is a good option outside of a very bad pitching slate and very cheap prices. Both these pitchers likely to get destroyed, probably coming out of the game before they even qualify for a win bonus. Greg Biancone was hanging out with the big man at Donovan's Reef one night back in time. Clarence Clemens. Yeah, didn't have a reference to Donovan's Reef on my Rotoscouts bingo card today. I'll talk Central Jersey and Shore Bars with you all day long. I was never a Belmar guy. You guys ever go down the Belmar, the whole party scene? I was never a club guy. I'm much more dive bar. So I was never really a bar A guy. Anytime we ended up there, it was just like in the corner, just like, yeah, this is fun. It's always good scenery down there, if you follow me, but never my kind of place. Belmar can be fun otherwise, though. Like if you do a house down there, or you just do house party kind of a thing. That way it was always fun. Cubbies, Pirates, Cubs, drawing a monster total, 4.81 implied. Going up against Carmen Mlodzinski. Carmen's got a 17.3% strikeout rate. He's walking 8.7%. He's got a 6.95 ERA, but the xFIP, it is a lot lower, 3.86 xFIP. That's manageable. I wouldn't call it necessarily good. It's approaching 4, but it's manageable. 1.82 whip, not manageable. You can't give up that many opportunities. But what he does do is cut launch angle a little bit. He's not Logan Webb, who got lit up last night, if I remember correctly. But 8.4 degree average launch in 5 starts, 22 innings this year. He's missed some barrels, hasn't allowed a ton of premium contact, just 1.92% home runs. The stuff is adequate, slightly below average. You could easily get that up above the average. Last year, it was slightly above average in his 50 2/3, 4 starts, some relief work last year. The home run rate was still notably low. Missed barrels. Didn't keep launch down as well as he is so far this season, but that's still okay enough to keep home runs believably low. And it's been we don't have enough sample to call it a demonstrable ongoing trait for him, but it is feeding kind of the model in that direction. And it's held up so far. So you can see that coming through a little bit here. We've got some Cubs power bats relegated in our home run model, but what the Cubbies do great is draw walks and sequence and get on base and create runs. So I'm all about this Cubs lineup against this pitcher. And if we get home runs, so much the better. You just don't worry about it. But Kyle Tucker relegated under a 5 in the home run model is kind of rare. He's got 7 on the board this season. He's also carrying a 428 xWOBA, 280 ISO, 163 WRC plus, barreling 13.9% of his batted ball events, barely strikes out, draws a ton of walks. Look at all these premium walk rates up at the top. Top 4 hitters in this lineup are carrying a 373 on base so far this season. They've created runs 47% better than average, and that's with Ian Happ kind of scuffling. Against this pitcher, that's just way too much. Way too many guys who are going to be seeing opportunities. Way too many guys coming up with runners in scoring position, runners on base. Love the opportunity for the Cubs. Even at 5K, I would probably think that Mlodzinski is behind the two pitchers in the previous game. Just because Povich is more talented, could find some Ks against the Yankees, and Ledzinski just doesn't have that in his bag. And then Carrasco, it's really, like I said, just about chasing those clean innings. He's more comparable to the Carrasco spot than he is to the Povich spot. Matthew Boyd, 8,400, 9,400. A lot of justification in going there. I'm going to cough. Excuse me one moment. And we're back. Larry's going to the inkwell after the show. Read some of his poetry. Brighton Bar, total dive. Oh, you got stuck on the Bar A train. Yeah, Jersey Transit, you can get nailed with those. It happens a lot too, because like now that they go to all the different the games at Giant Stadium and everything, and there's the Harrison Stadium for soccer, you just get caught on these random cars where it's just people are boozing and partying, and sometimes that can be fun. Sometimes you can be like, I do not need this today. Yeah, the inkwell for coffee and some bad poetry, always a good time. So Boyd carrying a 19.5% strikeout rate, 2.54 ERA is tidy, but the xFIP completely betrays him, 4.51 xFIP. So we don't want to get too excited about Matthew Boyd. He's found some good starts this season. He hasn't allowed much power despite being a fly ball pitcher. He's missed some barrels so far. There's a lot of happenstance baked into that. If we look back over time, it starts to crumble a couple years back, 3.63% home run on similar numbers over a larger sample of 71 innings. Last year, just 8 starts, 39 2/3 was more like this year so far, but Stuff Plus was way down. That is an atrocious point for Stuff Plus, one of the lowest we've seen. 95, it's been more effective so far this season. But it's not like he's up there racking up 9, 10 strikeout games. His season high was 7 against the Dodgers, oddly. 2 5-strikeout games in his first 2 outings, which were both shutout performances, 5 innings and 6 innings against the Diamondbacks and the Padres. But since those 2 starts, 3 earned runs against the Dodgers over 6, 2 earned runs against the Padres over 5 1/3, 3 earned runs against the Dodgers over 6 on 10 hits, 6 runs scored, 2 home runs, 4 strikeouts, and a walk. So it is starting to kind of crumble in around the edges. I don't love this price on a pitcher that I know is not really deserving of it. This price, on the other hand, definitely appealing. I do think you can play him on FanDuel because of the matchup. There are strikeouts available here in this Pirates lineup, so he probably pushes this up over 1 in 5. Vegas is on our side with that. But it's not my favorite pick at 9,400 because I know I've been down this road with Matthew Boyd. He's 34 now. We've had Matthew Boyd in our lives for a while now. I know he's not this good or that good. He is like this guy, right? End of the season, he's going to have a 4-something ERA, around 18, 19% strikeout. That's who he is. Not that appealing. You absolutely can throw Pirates bats at Matthew Boyd and hope for the best. O'Neal Cruz suffers a little bit against lefties, but there's still tons of high-quality contact there. 5,900, he's chasing a 22.4% barrel rate, 62.7% hard hits, 8 home runs, 12 steals, 419 xWOBA. But you just play the contact, you play the ceiling that he carries any given slate. Still carrying shortstop eligibility on FanDuel at 3,600. That FanDuel price is too cheap. The generosity of giving you the multi-position eligibility is terrific. Love that on FanDuel. 59 on DraftKings is honestly surprisingly high when FanDuel's got him at 36. FanDuel's got him surprisingly low. Brian Reynolds from the right side picks up a little bit of quality, 4,000, 2,800. He's only got 3 home runs, 2 steals on the season, a 288 on base is really disappointing, but we expect it to come back. We've seen poor stretches like this from Reynolds, but if you look over at the premium contact, barrels are actually up in the small sample. Hard hits are up a minor amount. He's carrying a 343 xWOBA, which suggests everything's going to be just fine. So right now, Brian Reynolds is just cheap against a mediocre lefty. That's a good spot. I do not mind that at all. I'm realizing now that I do have the confirmed lineup for the Pirates. Oh, Yanks is also in. I'm going to go through the Yankees in a minute because it's different. Fortunately, the Pirates' first two and Andrew McCutchen as well were what I was talking about. McCutch, 42, 28. Basically everything I said about Brian Reynolds also holds true for McCutch, except he's just a little bit older. 275, 363, 450 start to his season, a 385 xWOBA. He's actually been mashing 3 home runs on the board, creating runs 25% better than average, carrying a 15.6% barrel rate, 50% hard hits. He's doing a lot of old school Andrew McCutchen things right now. 17.6% strikeouts, a 12.1% walk rate. If he keeps that up, his price is going to go up. Get him while he's cheap. This is an ideal spot to roster some probably under-owned Andrew McCutchen, because if people are going to go to Matthew Boyd because he looks like one of the upside pitchers on the day, that would make the Pirates under-owned. Joey Bart's got upside. Cheap right-handed catcher, 3,900. He's got a 10.9% barrel rate on the season, slashing 292, 400, 389. xWOBA suggests that it's at least, somewhat believable. A home run and a stolen base on the board. He's created runs 25% better than average. Had a good season in partial time last year after arriving in Pittsburgh. Love the upside for Bart. Like him in the cleanup spot. 26 on FanDuel. Play him like he's their first baseman because they don't have one on the roster today. Ke'Bryan Hayes, 37-25 at third base. He's playable. He's not an ideal bat, but he does sting the ball. 49.4% hard hit rate. More of a line drive hitter than a home run hitter. Never really developed that skill set. But a 326 xWOBA, you get him for a correlated scoring. You get him to knock in Joey Bart after he gets on base. If McCutchen's already cleared the bases and we're looking for 5 runs in the first, Ke'Bryan Hayes can absolutely double homer run. 2.96, you can see the offset from him in terms of the home run upside. But the quality of contact is real. He's a low strikeout guy. 19.8, sub 20% the last 3 years. Matt Gorski, over 10 plate appearances. Hasn't been great so far. Maybe, this is his first 10. Snuck in here on me. What's the word on Gorski? Gorski's 27 and change. This is a very old report. Okay. To put him in perspective, his prospect report hasn't been updated since 2021 on Fangraphs. AAA so far this year, over 77 plate appearances, was slashing 300, 325, 529, 3 home runs, 2 steals. Did have a good year last year in AAA, 433 plate appearances, 257, 319, 522, carried a 265 ISO, hit 23 home runs and stole 15 bases. Definitely has a solid stretch of minor league power in the upper teens to mid 20s home runs and around 20 stolen bases over multiple seasons. It's just, if he was actually that good, we probably would have had him by now. Because, why would the Pirates be keeping him in the minors? So we probably don't see much upside, but given the tools at the dead min on DraftKings at 23 for a team that's already cheap, why not make that stack a little bit cheaper and throw him another righty bat with some quality apparently against a middling lefty? You can at least justify it. All right, let's go there. We'll take the catcher. We'll skip Ke'Bryan Hayes and the light hitting bat, and we'll take the kid here. Average our salary down further. That makes that 5-man exactly $4,000 apiece, and it includes O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, Andrew McCutchen, and Joey Bart, the top 4 in the lineup, against Matthew Boyd. I do not hate that. Tommy Pham, Jared Triolo, IKF at the bottom of the lineup. Pham has been going terribly so far this year. We saw him dramatically underperform expectations last season, or dramatically underperform who he once was. We might never see it really come back with Tommy Pham at this point. 33 WRC plus, a 257 xWOBA. No real contact to talk about. He's just cheap. Triolo at the dead min could be interesting. It can put okay bat on ball from time to time. Hasn't done much this season. 9 home runs, 8 stolen bases last year, but was a substandard run creator the year before. 209 plate appearances of 298, 388, 398 was a 18% above average run creator in that sample with 3 home runs and 6 stolen bases. Very, very spotty option, but yet another guy at the dead min, first and second. You obviously want him at second, and he's the only second base option. And then IKF is not much of a hitter. He's just a singles and hit tool kind of a guy. And then with this very appealing Cubs lineup, I started on it. Kyle Tucker, obvious. The power upside is real, even with Ledzinski's, relative ability to keep the ball down. But we're just looking for the sequencing, like what I was talking about. We're looking for this top end with the on-base skills. Ian Happ at 43.32 is a bargain. He's kind of righted the ship already. He's carrying a 359 xWOBA that tells me everything's going to be absolutely fine. He's already well above average by run creation, 6 points above average by WRC+. He's got 2 home runs on the board. We've just lost some barrels. We've lost a little bit of hard hit along the way early in the season, but strikeouts are down. Walks are exactly where they're supposed to be. No issues whatsoever with Ian Happ. You just take the discount on him. Say Suzuki in the 3 spot for 55.35. Honestly, kind of generous pricing. 298, 368, 596. An excellent skill set to throw at this pitcher. 10.3% walks, 16.4% barrels, and 49.3% hard hits. Can drive the ball in every facet of hitting. 379 xWOBA, creating runs 64% better than average. Michael Busch, great start to his year. 284, 382, 537. Hit 5 home runs early. 364 xWOBA. The strikeouts are down from where they were last year while he's maintained a high-end walk rate, making very good contact in terms of barrels. Needs to get that hard hit rate up a little bit. Needs to find a little bit more consistency. But it's a good purchase at 54, 3,000, especially on FanDuel at that low price. That's an interesting bat at just 3,000. Carson Kelly for 5,000 on DraftKings. That's getting up there. Just 2,900 where you don't need to play a catcher. You get a little bit of a conflict back and forth there. If you're building a ton of Cub stacks, fine. If you're building one Cub stack, it's Michael Busch, not Carson Kelly in your lineup. But Kelly's been good. 375, 24, 891, a 487 xWOBA in the small sample of 63 plate appearances. He's mashed 7 home runs, barreling the ball at a 16.7% clip, 61.9% hard hits. Looking like Aaron Judge out there, but is not. Nico Horner, 4,000, 3,000, mix and match option. A little bit of speed, a little bit of on-base skills. When we're chasing correlated scoring, Nico can definitely provide you some upside. So more on the board than he is on a day where I'm seeing a lot of power for the Cubs and I want to get multiple shots at the power bats. I think Nico is at least kind of interesting for the cheap price as a spot filler at second base if you're building a bunch of Cubs stacks. 287, 333, 356, 6 stolen bases on the year. The guy who's really interesting, though, PCA. We talked about him at the very beginning of the season needing to find his bat this year, and lo and behold, 126 plate appearances in. We're at 284, 325, 543. He's carrying a 259 ISO, 6 home runs, 12 stolen bases, a 12.1% barrel rate. I dropped the comment from somebody's Twitter in the Discord last night. I think it was 6 home runs and 6 steals over a 10-game stretch, I want to say. I thought I put it in Discord. Maybe I didn't. Either way, according to the tweet that I can no longer find. Oh, wait. There it is. Cubs players in franchise history with 6 home runs, 6 steals over a 13-game stretch. Just Pete Crow Armstrong. Thought that was interesting. Kid's been on a roll. We don't give credit for rolls over small plate samples of plate appearances, but he is supposed to be this good. So I'm a believer. 45 is still cheap. 34, FanDuel's kind of caught up. Dansby, 4,000, 3,000, cheap. 5 home runs, 4 steals on the board. That's all we're really going to focus on. 9.6% barrels, 49.4% hard hits. We're just going to assume everything else is going to be fine like we're used to. 316 xWOBA is at least hovering around the average. But he hasn't been good, but he's very, very, very playable. And then John Birdie, another mix and match hit tool, good on base, a little bit of speed when he gets on base. So you've got 2 of those guys. You've got some good upside for power. You've got a ton of guys who can sequence, get themselves to first base and make things happen. This is going to be messy for Carmen Ledzinski here. Cubs bats in a big way, followed by, I'll reluctantly give Boyd the credit and put him in the 2 spot. And then immediately after that, very, very close behind him is the Pirates bats. And for me, it's no Carmen Ledzinski. Guns here. What's going on, Gun? I promise I'm going to get back to you. I was out of town. I don't know if you were around yesterday when I was doing the show, but I was out of town over the weekend. Going to get back to you. We'll see, hopefully next week, maybe not, but the week after, maybe we'll jump on one together. See if we can figure out the logistics and make that happen for the people who are beating the drum for it. No Arenado in St. Louis. Oh, yeah, let me grab that Yankees lineup, though. Not only did Aaron Boone not put Aaron Judge in the 2 spot, he put Trent Grisham in the 2 spot today, which I'm not a big fan of. I know Grisham's been going well. He's not untalented. But it's just Aaron Judge should hit second every day. That spot in the Yankees lineup is the Aaron Judge spot, and Boone just doesn't do it. Not enough anyway. So this is what we're getting from the Yanks. It's a little bit different than what we were looking at. We don't have Cabrera in there, but we do get Peraza. We do get Pablo Reyes. Ben Rice in despite the lefty on the mound. 48-36, so we don't get Cody Bellinger. That's who came out of the 2 spot. And then Ben Rice went in, and Cabrera came out. Obviously, Rice has been completely mashing. 8 home runs on the board, a 433 xWOBA, 21+% barrels, 62.5% hard hits. Can't believe I didn't keep this kid. Volpe moves down. He was in the cleanup role in the projected. Austin Wells still in the lineup. And then Grisham in the 2 spot is, you can't deny the 17% barrels he's put on the ball this year, the 49.1% hard hits. In a small sample last year, he was good at doing those 2 things. Hasn't been really striking out at his typical 27-ish% rate. That's one reason that, it's kind of an illusion so far. 76 plate appearances of 294, 368, 662 with a 415 xWOBA, 8 home runs, a 192 WRC plus. We'll see. Last year over 209, we were at 293.85 with a 91 WRC plus and 1 more home run than he's hitting 76 this year. Over 555 the year before, he was at 198, 315, 352 with 13 home runs. Did steal 15 bags that year, but only had a 154 ISO. Sub 200 hitter the year before that, over 500 plus plate appearances, 184, 284, 341 with an 83 WRC plus. At least hit 17 home runs that year. So I can at least promise you that he's not a 294, 368 guy on the front end of the slash line. Maybe he's going to continue to find the barrel. We'll see. Yankees remain as playable as they were, if not slightly more playable. Get the cards. So this is the game that is only on DraftKings, which is why I can't find it on Fantasy Labs right now. Grab the Reds too while I'm here, because that's confirmed as well. So Chase Petty making his major league debut, highly rated prospect for the Reds. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I don't mind this opponent for a kid making his debut, especially one who's supposed to be good. But I don't love that it comes in this ballpark. I don't love that it comes with a 4.45 implied total showing on the in Vegas on the opponent's top end there. So probably not the ideal day to chase him at 66. In the minors this season, we've gotten 5 starts. Last time out, he did go 6, struck out 7, allowed just 1 hit against the Cubs affiliate. 4 2/3, gave up 7 runs, but only 2 of them earned. 3 home runs. Eight strikeouts in that game. Another start of 5 innings. Shut out the Pirates affiliate on a 3-hit day. Last season, for the full year, carried a 22.4% strikeout rate, but did have an ugly 10.2% walk rate. That was across 28 starts in AA and AAA, 137 innings. He's an accelerated prospect, though. He's still only 22. Arguably here a little bit early. So the kid's got talent. If you're throwing darts and you just want to pick off 5 innings, this is not the greatest lineup in the world. You can see the average lineup for the average WRC plus for the 9-man lineup is 8 points below average. It's an average of 2 home runs. They get on base at a 319 clip. It's not a good St. Louis lineup. I just don't love this ballpark. I don't love that total. Feels a little bit threatening. We've got other cheap options, but this is probably the best discount option we've talked about so far. Steven Matz, I think we're getting 4, maybe 5 innings of mediocrity. At 7,800, it really doesn't feel like a spot to chase. I don't think you're going to get him to the win. Since he's favored, he's going to have all his attributes of this ballpark working against him as well, and he's facing the better of these two lineups. 1 start, several relief appearances, a 1.80 ERA, but don't get distracted. A 3.94 xFIP is much more who this pitcher is, giving up plenty of fly balls, plenty of premium contact, exit velocity at 92.2 miles an hour against a guy like Elly De La Cruz, who hits the ball 400 miles an hour every time he makes contact. I like the upside for Cincy bats, and so does Vegas. Could probably throw some cards at the kid, though. Newport, 4,500 against a righty, making his debut, has appeal, 271, 405, 430, a 379 xWOBA, hitting the ball very hard, 9.3% barrels and 47+% hard hits. Newport's appealing at those prices. As somebody mentioned, there's no Nolan Arenado in the lineup today. You get Mason Wynn in the 2 spot at 3,200, 231, 311, 308, 79 WRC plus, already getting a little bit problematic around that hitter. That's a guy we're looking to hit for a little bit of average for us, 267, 314, 416. He did hit 15 home runs. He stole 11 bags last year. That was a much better stretch. Obviously still very small sample, but not much encouraging to point to so far for Wynn. Brendan Donovan, 4,500, just a cheap bat on ball player. Generates some pretty good hard hit over multiple seasons. The results come and go. 349, 391, 519. He's been good over his 116 plate appearances, but he's no reason to go running to the Cardinals. He's just somebody you include in a Cardinal stack if you're going that direction already. 418 xWOBA is very appealing. 154 WRC plus, by far the highest on the team in the small sample. We'll see where it ends up. He is low strikeout. I'll give him that much. So if you're just hunting for bat on ball and quality bat on ball against a rookie, that would be the reason to go to Donovan. You definitely only want him at second base. Contreras, I've talked about it before, is diminished in value as a first baseman, but with his price all the way down at 3,300, yeah, he hasn't been good. But if you're going to this team, you definitely include that because he's too cheap, even playing first base. But he's much more valuable when he was a catcher and obviously when he was hitting. 70 WRC plus so far. 317 xWOBA is at least closing in on the average and telling us that there's more to come and will at least return somewhat to form. 26% Ks is right around where he was, but the walks are down so far. It's been ugly. It's been difficult to include. I don't love occupying first base that way, but if you're going cards, he's on the board and he's carrying the second highest number in this team in the home run model. Alec Burleson at 26, another first baseman in this lineup. He's just cheap so far this season, 286, 337, 325. Hasn't homered, hasn't really hit the ball hard at all. Just putting balls in play and getting by on BABIP. If you're looking for power upside, it's Nolan Gorman. 15.2% barrels, 42.4% hard hits, and 9.41 in the homer model. Over 56 plate appearances, though, he's just doing Nolan Gorman things. Striking out at a 30% clip, which is actually down for him. He's drawn a few walks, but 208, 286, 375. Mediocre at best, and it's probably more like a flailing, sometimes infrequent power option. Jordan Walker for 3,000 is playable, given the once upon a time prospect pedigree, the flashes that we've seen of him at least being a competent line drive hitter with upside power, but it's been really ugly. 208, 269, 281, a 268 xWOBA, 4.5% barrel rate so far this season. It's getting more difficult to support. Pedro Pajes, Victor Scott, mix and match options at best. Scott can give you some upside for a couple base hits and a stolen base against a rookie, but that's all he really is. And Pajes, just some bat on ball for a cheap price from the catcher spot. If we're looking Reds, we've got quality up top for sure. TJ Friedel, reasonably competent at getting on base, carrying a 347 on base so far this year, but betrayed by a 293 xWOBA, already just at a 99 WRC plus. Last year, 310 on base over 341 plate appearances and 88 WRC plus. So the quality can come and go in terms of the results. Never really has been a guy who puts good bat on ball, but he's low strikeout, medium walk rate, can scratch out some base hits, steal you a bag, and does have enough upside for power that he can deliver the infrequent home run, 5.5 in the home run model today. The guys who are really, truly appealing, Matty McLain, Elly De La Cruz. McLain at just 4,800 on DraftKings. Sign me up. 162, 279, 338, and I just don't care. 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases, a 17.4% barrel rate, 52.2% hard hits. That's why we don't care about the back of the baseball card. The back of the baseball card right now is wrong. 358 xwOBA. All we care about. 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases. Striking out too much, but drawing his walks. He is way too talented to keep this up for long. Just ride the upside. Ellie at 6,000. Considering you get that pairing now for 54 apiece, and I have no problem paying 54 for Matt McClain, that's a great combination right there. Even if you two-man that out of the Reds lineup and go build like a 5-2-1, that's tons of upside. Those two, plus that cheap stack that we were looking at before, that cheap 5-man, and then you get the top 2 pitchers on the board and probably a premium one-off. Really interesting way to build. There is more quality in this Reds lineup, though, and everybody comes cheap. Noel V. Marte, not uninteresting. 370, 431, 696 so far. 3 home runs, 4 steals, 373. If I'm remembering correctly, there's a little bit of Coors Field padding in there. Didn't he crush the Coors Field series? I feel like that's correct. Spencer Steer, 3,500 option at first base. Weak to start the season, but does have a little bit of power, does have the ability to steal a base. 20-25 last year in those departments. 225, 319, 402. Slash line's not great. Was sub-average in terms of weighted run creation. But 2020 season, Santiago Espinal, just a slap-hitting average on-base correlated scoring type, but fits into the middle infield for a cheap price. Gavin Lux, maybe a little bit more than that, a little bit of pop in the bat. So far this season, over 105 plate appearances, he's been outstanding at just the hit tool and on-base aspects of things. 353 xwOBA suggests the upside for more. 44.6% hard hit rate, 6.2% barrels. We could see a little bit of a surge from Gavin Lux and see these numbers increase. Home run and a steal on the board. He's very interesting from down lineup. The lefty is not ideal, but I don't expect Steven Matz for more than a few innings. And then Austin Wynns and Blake Dunn are mix and match quality. Wynns has put up a good 33 plate appearances, 3 home runs on the board. And for 56 plate appearances of Blake Dunn, we've at least gotten a home run and a steal and 11% better than average via run creation. He's drawn some walks, barreled a couple balls. He's just cheap down lineup. For me, this is Reds bats followed by Cards bats. I'm legitimately interested in these guys. I'm not really that interested in these guys. But if some creep into your lineups, given that run total, I think it's perfectly fine. And for me, it's neither pitcher, really. But between the two, it would be the rookie. Nats lineup is in. Oh, that is the wrong direction. All right, no junior to put in there. So the Nats down at a 3.27 implied total against Chris Sanchez. We talked about the fact that Sanchez came out of the game the last time. Forearm tightness, usually a very bad sign. Seems like it was just a thing. All reporting that it is okay. 29.5% strikeout rate over 5 starts, 26 and a third. 2.65 xFIP under the 3.42 ERA. Stuff plus at 115 for the season, inducing a 15% swinging strike rate. Even if they're protective of him, he's probably the best starting pitcher option on the slate, especially where he's only 8,200 on DraftKings. On FanDuel at 10-2, there's a little bit of risk because you do want the quality start, given how much he costs. But I think the fact that they're throwing him out there 8 days later for a full-blown start against a team like this, and Vegas has them checked down like that, tells me that we should be expecting full-blown Chris Sanchez here. And he's very good. Last season, 181 and 2/3, just a 20% strikeout rate, but you can see how much the swinging strikes have gone up. That arsenal was allegedly improved over the offseason, all through camp. That was buzzy, and so far, so good. Continues to cut launch angle, so he should come back down as far as those oddball home runs. He's given up a couple, but he should come back down into this territory because he keeps hitters to an elite average launch angle. So as long as that attribute stays in place with the increased ability to induce swinging strikes, find strikeouts going up against this team, I absolutely like this option. Jake Irvin is just a target for Phillies bats. 3.19 ERA, sure. 3.71 xFIP is already starting to creep out from under the covers. What's most important to me, 12.5% barrel rate allowed so far. He's a fly ball trajectory pitcher, 47.1% hard hits and 90.5 miles an hour. Exit velo allowed on average so far in the small sample, 4.17% home run rate so far. Mostly jibes with last year. Larger sample, 9.2%. Barrel rate, a 30.7% home run rate. 94 by Stuff Plus so far this year. That's 96. 4.41 ERA with a 4.03 xFIP. This is who this guy is. Relatively low strikeout, around a 1 in 5. There are some Ks in the Phillies lineup, but the other thing that there is just elite lefty power around two of these guys. Tons of upside for on base, run creation, sequencing. This is another 9-man deep lineup, 4.83 implied total for Philly. I have no interest in Jake Irvin on either side. If you're drawing Nationals bats against the tough lefty, I don't think it's ideal. It would be a contrarian play. You're loaded up with 4 lefties, or 3 out of 4 of the first hitters are going to be coming at Chris Sanchez from the left side of the plate. Let's see what we've been doing here. Pull up the old splits board for the first time this season. Washington. Oh, where's my... What? I can't get a link now? Did they change that? That would be really annoying. All right. We'll go a different way. I know you guys can't see this, and it's probably just annoying to hear me just talking to myself as I'm looking at it, but I want to look. That's not coming up the way it used to. Damn, Fangraphs changed something. All right. Wood's been holding the fort down pretty well against lefties this year. He's been mashing just against everybody. 3 of his 9 home runs are against same-handed pitching. Carrying a 256, 326, 538 with a 282 ISO and creating runs 37% better than average. That's in 43 plate appearances against lefties. Last season in his small sample, he hit 1 of his 9 home runs, but still was good. 261, 320, 339. The power wasn't really there. The run creation was actually 12 points below average, but that slash line is at least encouraging. And with the power obviously arriving this year, makes it interesting. Nathaniel Lowe has been problematic. Over 37 plate appearances this year, he's at 162, 162, 216. No, sorry. Yeah, that was correct. And he has a -1 WRC plus. For his career, Lowe's a 271, 349, 409 hitter against same-handed pitching, but doesn't hit for a ton of power. 138 ISO down from 175 against righties, but still a positive run creator by 15 points. In a more complete sample from last year against same-handed pitching, he was almost essentially reverse splits, 292, 396, 400, but just a 108 ISO, created runs 33% better than average. But last year was down power season for Lowe. But at least there's enough quality there. And then, what's the other one? C.J. Abrams. Yeah, Abrams has been doing all right against lefties in a small sample so far this year. The run creation's been down. On base is down a little bit. But he hit a home run, 1 of his 4. 250, 250, 429 with a 179 ISO. He's been okay. Last season, across 188 plate appearances, he hit 5 of his home runs against lefties and was entirely reverse splits at 293, 340, 471. 178 ISO, created runs 25% better than average against lefties. Against righties, he was 2% worse than average. So at least we won't sweat those 3 lefties. If we're going to the Nationals, they're probably still your 3 most appealing bats in this lineup. And then you probably just grab like Josh Bell and Dylan Cruz, or maybe Ahmed Rosario, and get the direct correlation up top. This just doesn't feel like the right day to be targeting Nationals bats outside of just being completely contrarian in a few shares of 150 lineups. Rosario already starting to come down, 255, 271, 383, just a 79 WRC plus. Wood, again, has been fantastic. Major upside bat on ball, batted ball events, 257, 364, 558 with 9 homers for the year, a 407 xWOBA. Lowe has been surprisingly good, 6 home runs on the board, carrying a 343 xWOBA, a 209 ISO so far, striking out a little bit more than usual. Walks are slightly down, but seems to be focusing a little bit more on barrels and power now with Washington, and he's still very cheap, 44.28. I prefer Lowe to Josh Bell, although what is Bell going to give us on the right side? You do have the switch hitting aspect of Bell here. It's been atrocious against lefties in a small sample. For his career, it's marginal, but he's a little bit better as a lefty against a righty. He's very playable, but I think I do prefer Nathaniel Lowe, even at a slightly higher price. But if that discount means anything to you, you can definitely go one or the other. Bell has 4 home runs on the board, but he's slashing 143, 236, 286 with a 49 WRC plus. Dylan Cruz, prospect, maybe finding his way a little bit. 4 home runs, 6 steals, 338 xWOB is encouraging. A lot of ugliness around the edges in that line. Obviously, the 70 WRC plus, just a 150 ISO, a 250 on base so far. But this is very encouraging. The 15% barrels in his batted ball events, 40+% hard hits. Needs to find some walks along the way, but a playable piece. Kib Ruiz, if you're just looking for catcher bat on ball, he's slashing 303, 355, 404. He's only got 2 home runs on the board. He's not a power bat. Doesn't really find barrels basically ever, but he's low strikeout, medium to low walk. It's just a ton of high quality bat on ball opportunities. Jose Tena and Jacob Young at the bottom of the lineup are essentially mix and match pieces. They're averaging a 81 WRC plus over their 100 and change plate appearances. Phillies are a high priority stack today. Kyle Schwarber is the home run pick of the day at 13.99 in the home run model. Peterson hitting cleanup. I like that. Jock's not going to go over for the season in home runs against these righties that he sees. We do need to pick up the pace, though. We'll get to that one. So Schwarbs is the home run pick of the day at 13.99 in the model. I believe that was number 2 overall behind Aaron Judge. 13.5% barrels, 56.8% hard hits. You're throwing that a guy who's allowed a ton of barrels, a ton of premium contact, several home runs already this season. Love the upside for Kyle Schwarber, and he didn't look like he was going to be as popular as he should be. Bryce Harper, everything about Schwarber also applies there, and he's a better hitter overall. He steals more bases. He's got 6 already on the season. He's carrying a 185 ISO to Schwarber's 272 because Schwarbs is coming through for more power so far. 382 xWOBA suggests that Harper's extra base hits, his power upside is really going to come through in the long term. Strikeouts are down slightly. Walks are way up in a small sample. 12% barrels. Trey Turner remains excellent. 290, 367, 364. When we're talking about correlated scoring ahead of those 2 stars, you absolutely want Turner. He's under 3,000 on FanDuel, which is just silly. 5,000 on DraftKings has its appeal, but this is the better discount. He hasn't hit for much power yet this season. That'll arrive at some point. He's created runs 9% better than average. You just don't sweat it. Bryson Stott in the leadoff role for 46.29. Very playable. Put him at second base, grab Turner, grab Harper and Schwarber, and off you go. That is an easy stack to build as a 4-man, and you get another guy in there on DraftKings. Stott, 2 home runs, 6 steals, gets on base at a 373 clip so far this year. He's creating runs 26% better than average. Last season, got on at a 315 clip and was just at 88 WRC plus and a 111 ISO. but still stole 32 bases. It at least makes him interesting up at the top of the lineup. And he's been better for getting on base this year. He looks more like the guy from 2 years ago, 283, 29, 419. Created runs 1% better than average, 15 homers, 31 steals. At least we know we've got bonus scoring opportunities up there. Nick Castellanos, 45, 31. Just 3 home runs on the board, but been decent, creating runs 11% better than average, 360 xWOBA to support the upside. We've seen Nick Castellanos succeed with lower barrel and hard hit numbers than these, including last year. Castellanos is interesting at 45, 31. He and Stott out of these top 5 are the lower priority. The 3 stars in the middle I want in most of my Philly stacks together. JT Realmuto is not uninteresting. 11.1% barrels and 46% hard hits. Makes me not really care about 226, 301, 323 so far. 329 xWOB is kind of on my side in that. 1 home run on the board this season. I'm just taking the premium contact from a former all-star catcher who is at 3,800 where I need to play catchers, 2,800 where I can put him at first base or util alongside Bryce Harper. Definitely interested in some Realmuto shares. 6.88 in the home run model today. Kepler, 3,700, 2,500. A pretty good lefty bat for power upside over time. So far in 104 this season, he's only hit 2 home runs, but a 105 WRC plus. It's been decent at 253, 346, 385. The barrels, the hard hits. Barrels are, depending on which season you pick, we want them to be a little bit higher. Technically, they're up from last year as our hard hits. But in the past, we've seen him in double-digit barrel territory and hitting more home runs. The production has really been funky the last couple of years. It's been 1 year on, 1 year off. Not that we're chasing that as an actual idea, but this is an encouraging start for Max Kepler. As long as he can stay healthy, I'm always interested at cheap pricing. Edmundo Sosa, 400, 421, 514 with a 347 xWOBA so far this season, a 157 WRC plus, 44% hard hits. Last year had an 8.6% barrel and 40.6% hard hits. Doesn't really walk. He does strike out a fair amount of the time, but you get a little bit of bonus contact there. We're just looking at these 2 guys to wrap back around to the top for cheap pricing, but they do help average down those salaries, and they're not uninteresting. Yohan Rojas, last season, 3 home runs, but stole 25 bases. Ignore that ugly WRC plus. We obviously need him to be a lot better than that. So far this season, he's brought that up. He's brought up his on base. We need him to get on base a lot and steal some bags. He's an effective, or he's a playable wraparound guy, but he's not. He's the least desirable guy in this lineup. Let's say it that way. Philly's bats, then Christopher Sanchez, and really not much from the Nats. It would be bats and no Jake Irvin if you need to rank it, but those bats are really not that appealing outside of just a little bit of a contrarian option around those 4. But that's still coming in at $47.50. It's not like you're getting a discount. Royals Rays. Most of these lineups are confirmed now. Everything's going to be updated as soon as we finish up the show, you guys. It takes me about 5 minutes to get that done. I am definitely taking longer than I intended to with this, though. I'm realizing now it's 4:43. Noah Cameron making his debut for the Royals. The Rays are notably at a 4.5 run implied total in this ballpark where we've expressed major concerns about how the ball is going to fly out of it this season. Cameron, 2 innings in the most recent outing at AAA. That was a start. Not sure what happened there. Struck out 3. Nothing bad happened. Could be a rain out. Who knows? 4 innings. Faced 19 hitters in the outing before that against the Orioles. Give up 5, or the Orioles affiliate, rather. Give up 5 earned. 2 home runs. Struck out 6. Walked 1. Was relatively stretched out prior to that start, though. 5 1/3, 6, 5 innings in the 3 starts before that, and was more effective. Decent strikeout stuff over the last couple years of minor league ball. In the brief stint so far this year, he had a 30% strikeout rate, 30.3, with a 9% walk rate. Last year, over 25 starts, 128 2/3 in AA and AAA, mostly in AA. 16 AA starts, 9 AAA starts. Came away with a 27.8% strikeout rate, 6.7% walk rate. Year 4 was 28.3 and 7.5 in 24 minor league outings across high A and double A. Kid's 25, basically on time. Not uninteresting at 4,000. I think that's a dart you can throw. Out of the bargain bin options we've talked about, including Cade Povich, a lefty against the Yankees, Carlos Carrasco, a garbage washed up veteran against the Orioles. This is cheaper, and it's a similar kind of a dart with probably more strikeout upside. I have no idea what these innings are going to look like. He could absolutely get tattooed by some of these quality righty power bats that the Rays have. But they do strike out this confirmed version of the Rays lineup at a 25.4% rate. Last season, that was 23-1 for everybody who's not named Chandler Simpson. Simpson, not much of a strikeout option, so he's probably not going to push that up. But this whole stretch of lineup here, after we take out the top two, that's a 29.3% rate this season. That's a 24.2% rate last season. So there are some Ks here for Noah Cameron at the dead min on DK. That's not completely uninteresting. Drew Rasmussen, 88.92, projects out pretty well, carrying a 27.8% strikeout rate. Stuff Plus is firmly on his side, way above average there. He's given up some hard hits, some exit velo on a fly ball trajectory, but hasn't burnt him yet. Just a 1.03% home run rate. Pitching to a 2.10 ERA. The xFIP is a full run higher, but it's still a very clean 3.03. Hasn't been putting guys on base. A 0.90 whip is spectacular. Benefits a little from probably some luck, some low BABIP there. 6.2% walk rate. What's the BABIP against? .258 BABIP against so far. So a little bit of benefit there as far as guys just not lucking out on hits. 10.4% swinging strike rate. He's one of the better pitching options on the board. The only downside is a good Royals lineup on the other side that is fairly low strikeout. 20.4 this year, 20.9 last year, 21.7 the year before. Obviously, we've got to fade stars like Bobby Witt, Sal Perez, but then we've got a lot of mix and match types. We've got an underperformer in Vinny Pasquantino so far this season. There are some reasons to consider Drew Rasmussen at 88 and at 92. So definitely one of the top end pitchers of the day. If we're going to Royals bats, I do think you can include them in your stacks. It's not a situation though where it's, for every Rasmussen you need a Royals, or it's probably more like for every Rasmussen you need, for every 5 Rasmussens you need a Royals, but you could throw in more than that if you wanted. Jonathan India at 33.27 with multi-position eligibility on both sites. 330 on base. As long as he keeps doing that ahead of the rest of this lineup, I'm perfectly happy. And the average is going to come up. The run creation will come up. Even the power will eventually come around. No home runs, no steals is a little bit funky over 115 plate appearances. This is a guy who last year was at 15 and 13. Year before was at 17 and 14. I would at least expect we'd have one or the other, but we don't. That's why he's so cheap. 58.37 for Bobby Witt is just, flat out affordable and easy to average down. If you just did that, it would immediately make it a 4,080, call it $4,100 a man. So you're getting Michael Garcia, Sal Perez at their pricing, and I would happily pay more for either of those players. Vinny's really cheap, and you're getting a $4,100 Bobby Witt in that equation. That's a great 5-man. Drew Rasmussen's good, but I mean, I don't know. It's given where that's priced, there's no reason in the world that you couldn't throw that at Drew Rasmussen. I like that 5-man, and I like that you have it for $4,100 a piece. Michael Garcia is an interesting piece of that. Sal Perez is an interesting piece of that. Sal's priced under $3,000 on FanDuel, 42 on DraftKings, where he's still a catcher, and you need the eligibility, or you need the position. 2 home runs on the board. A 398 xWOBA is telling us that everything is going to be perfectly fine in his slash line. So is a 15.9% barrel rate, a 48.9% hard hit rate. Sal is a masher. He's going to finish with 25 plus home runs. He's going to have a good season. It's just been a little bit of a slow start. He will snap out of it. Vinny, 31.28. I am still a believer. I'm firmly still a believer. The strikeouts are up. That's been part of the problem. He has not found the timing yet this year. 174, 242, 303. I guarantee this is the worst 120 plate appearances he's had in the last 3 years. He's at least got 3 home runs on the board. Keep the faith. Garcia, good start to his year, 273, 336, 404, 2 homers, 4 steals. I was expecting him to run a little bit more considering he's gotten on base at a 336 clip so far this year, but he's been creating runs. The xWOBA suggests that everything's real that we're seeing. 54.2% hard hits jibes with that. Low strikeout, high walks so far this season, and that continues along what he was doing last year. I like Michael Garcia, and nobody's raising his price yet. I prefer him at second base to third base. Depends what you do with India on FanDuel. Either way, though, either of those guys can go at second and third. You can use that combination. Drew Waters at 24 is a mix and match guy. 1 home run, 1 steal, 125 WRC plus on a small sample. Hunter Renfroe is all the way down at the dead min price because he's essentially provided dead min production so far. 33 WRC plus, yet to homer. Last year he hit 15 homers, but everything else was already broken, and we might not even get those oddball home runs out of him this year. So problematic down here. Should support the upside for Rasmussen. Kevin Biggio does the same thing. Kyle Esbell does the same thing as far as supporting the upside for Rasmussen. He could pick up a few strikeouts along the way if he sees those guys 3 times. Taking shots with the Rays in this ballpark against a rookie making his debut with 3 of their super appealing bats hitting from the right side. Another somewhat appealing bat down there. Chandler Simpson is just all about the hit tool. His numbers came down slightly. He went over, I want to say 4 yesterday. It might have been 5. 343, 395, 371 still. Creating runs 31% better than average. He's stolen 3 bases. This is the fastest man in baseball. 100 plus stolen bases in the minors last year. Just take him and hope he gets to first base a few times and makes things happen. Yandy Diaz at 39, 3,000. We're up to 252, 295, 395. Hopefully things have stabilized. 332 xWOBA tells us that everything's going to be okay. 48.1% hard hits. I do expect things will return to form. So far, it's been a disaster in on base from a guy who we just expect to reach first base with absurd consistency and create runs with absurd consistency. I think everything's going to be okay with Diaz. You get him at a cheap price at $3,900 on both corners on DraftKings. $3,000 at first base, perfectly fine on FanDuel. Christopher Morel, one of our the darlings of our fast swing conversation from opening day, carrying through 23.9% barrel rate. It's exactly where, well, no, that's high. If I claimed that I was expecting a 23.9% barrel rate, you could call me an effing liar. But barreling a ton of balls, 3 home runs on the board, a 360 xWOBA, creating runs 19% better than average, throwing him at a rookie lefty in this ballpark. I love the upside. Junior Caminero, 54.1% hard hits with 6 home runs on the board, a 220 ISO, 347 xWOBA, creating runs 26% better than average over 116, arriving in the show in a big, big way. Brendan Lau, even with a lefty on the mound, I'll chase the power upside that he's got. I'll chase the fact that if they get to Noah Cameron, we're not going to see a lot of that lefty. And then Brendan Lau's taking shots at the short porch and right, 9.59 in the home run model. Definitely want to include him in my stack since the Rays included him in the lineup in a good lineup spot. Danny Jansen, now you're starting to get a little bit more difficult to roster. Hasn't given us much at the plate so far this year. Last year, 9 home runs and a pretty empty slash line, 10 points below average for run creation. Curtis Mead, not done much in the show so far this year. Didn't really do much with 132 plate appearances last year. There is talent there. 8.7% barrels, at least maybe something to chase for 2,500. If you're taking them, put them at second base. Neither corner spot on either side. Jose Caballero gives you a little bit more than that. He's got stolen base upside, has been getting to first base a little bit, has been positive run creator at 112 WRC plus. Not much in terms of power, but a decent hit tool, decent ability to reach first base. Striking out at a 38.5% clip. Last year was 27.5, so there are a lot of Ks there. And then Taylor Walls, a lot of that also applies to Taylor Walls. Strikes out aggressively, steals you the occasional base, has not been good over 77 this year. Was up and down last year, finished at 183, 282, 248, and 40 points below average for run creation, but did steal 16 bases. Rays bats, then Drew Rasmussen, then the Royals bats, and then Noah Cameron on DraftKings. And honestly, I didn't really talk about him as far as a FanDuel option, but at 6,000 for a few darts, given that there is legit strikeout upside, we just need the innings. We're probably not getting a quality start. But if you're talking about 5 innings for 6,000 with some strikeout appeal, that's not unplayable over here. You can see where it projects, though. So just be aware. Holy hell, how do we have 4 games left? I've done a poor job of keeping pace on this show. Yeah, I did. I saw that, Gun. I was that day that he was talking about that on Central or whatever it was. I did a show like right after that, and I was like, oh my God, I know what's wrong with Vinny Pasquantino. And that was like 2 weeks ago now. I just don't think he's found the timing. I don't think he knows what to do with that yet, and has to figure it out. And yeah, given that we have a culprit for the underperformance so far, I'm happy to stay on board. And like I said, just kind of keep the faith there. Red Sox, tons and tons of upside. We saw that come through yesterday. We talked about it on the show. They were the 3rd ranked team for home run upside. Rafi Devers came through as the home run pick of the day yesterday. I never like to get too excited about the Red Sox winning a baseball game, but I was happy that what we talked about on the show came through. The one thing that I was disappointed by, though, they had a low ranking in terms of the average aggregate fantasy score on the website in the stack rankings. That's not the case today. And Tristan Casas is in the lineup despite the lefty. Do we have what the Blue Jays are doing yet in terms of the pitcher? It's back to Yadiel. All right. So where the fuck is... So the numbers took a little bit of a downshift. Ignore that. Lauer's coming into this game very quickly. Yadiel's probably giving us an inning. And honestly, there's no reason to think that these Red Sox wouldn't succeed against him because he's not that good. Last year, a 4.47 ERA, a 4.42 xFIP, induced a 10.7% swinging strike rate, struck out 23.1, but walked 10.9 over 21 starts, 86 2/3, and now is just kind of relegated to the pen. This year so far, allowed a 6% home run rate on 17.6% barrels. So it's just some of the long memory of the model that cut into those numbers a little bit when I move that back over to Rodriguez here. I don't think you're playing him at 6,000, 6,800 on either site because he's probably going about an inning. And then we are going to, as far as I know anyway, Eric Lauer, and you can see these numbers pop again. A little bit of a weird shift for power there. We've got more of a sample of Lauer allowing power over the years. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but what can you do? You can see everybody's projection numbers go up there. Red Sox look very appealing with their 4.81 implied total. Would not play Eric Lauer for the 4 innings that we're going to see out of him. First appearance in the show so far this season for Lauer. He has been at pitching in AAA. 5 innings in each of his last 4 outings in AAA. Allowed 4 earned runs in 2 of those. 2 earned runs in another one. In his most recent AAA outing, he gave up no earned runs on 5 hits, struck out exactly 5 in each of his last 2, in 3 out of his last 4, struck out only 2 in one of those 4-run games. We have a fair amount of history with Eric Lauer, but it's been a minute. Didn't pitch last year, 46 2/3 over 9 starts back in 23, 20% strikeout, ugly numbers for power, ugly numbers for runs. 158 2/3 the year before, better in terms of his earned run average, but we're still at a 4.08 xFIP. We're still 4+% home run rate. Was better for strikeouts that season in a more complete sample, but we're nowhere near that version of Eric Lauer right now. So we are throwing Red Sox bats at him pretty aggressively. They're somewhat priced up. That top 4 is a $3,500 buy on FanDuel. Your top 5 is a $4,800 buy on DraftKings, but the upside exceeds that. 13.27 now for Rafi Devers, 5 home runs on the board, a 200 ISO, a 410 xWOBA. We talked about this basically every day. 23.1% barrels and 60.3% hard hits. Just ignore the front end. Just ignore the 217 part of this equation. It does not matter. Rafi Devers is perfectly fine, and he's mashing. Jarren Duran at 52.35. 2 home runs, 9 steals. Was excellent for creating runs and correlated scoring with a little bit of individual power and stolen base upside and extra base hit upside throughout last season. Has maybe underperformed expectations over his first 144, but he's still been very good. 9% better than average for run creation. He's hitting the ball harder this year despite losing a few barrels. Strikeouts are slightly down. Great option off the top. Alex Bregman has been on fire since joining Boston. 331, 401, 570, a 364 xWOBA with 6 home runs on the board, not striking out, 13.6% strikeouts against the 6.9% walk rate, which the walk rate will probably go up while the strikeouts stay around where they are. Bregman is excellent, and he's got second base eligibility on DraftKings, which is dynamite because you can stick Christian Campbell in the outfield, and then you can grab Rafi Devers at third base. So beautiful that he's got that. Trevor Story at 45-34, 5 home runs, 6 steals. Great start to his season. A 330 xWOBA supports the upside. 11% barrels, 53.7% hard hits. Still going to strike out a lot. Hasn't been drawing walks lately. As long as he's putting this high quality bat on ball and they're keeping his price around here, I am very interested. FanDuel at 34, he's more expensive, but still very, very playable. Willie Abreu hit his 6th home run of the season last year. He's off to another great start. 261 ISO, a 402 xWOBA, 14.9% barrels, tons of hard hits. Great purchase at 48-32 against this pitcher or combination of pitchers. Christian Campbell is still somehow only 43 on DraftKings, only 31 on FanDuel, despite his first 119 plate appearances of his career, resulting in 66% better than average marked by WRC+, a 202 ISO, a 372 xWOBA, 313, 425, 15 slash line, 4 home runs, and 2 steals. What does a kid have to do to get on your radar, DraftKings? What does a kid have to do to get on your radar, FanDuel? Love the multi-position eligibility. Play the hell out of Christian Campbell against these pitchers. Tristan Casas has been scuffling, but he's got a 10.2 in the home run model against the lefty. He's got more upside than he was showing against Yadiel. 3 home runs on the board, 315 xWOBA, a 62 WRC plus over 104. None of that is where we want it. The barrels aren't where we want them. The hard hits aren't where we want them. Strikeouts are. They come down by almost 10 points. That's really encouraging. Walks have come down a little bit. This is a kid who is going to start mashing and going to revert to form. We've got another 100 and change plate appearances to find out what we're really dealing with this season. I expect 100 plate appearances from now. We're going to be talking about him having normalized back to expectations. Barrels are going to go up. Contact's going to go up. He's too good to linger down here for long. Ceddanne Rafael is just a mix and match guy for counting stats. Carlos Narvaez is just a cheap catcher. The Blue Jays, they've gotten a little more interesting. Given that Dalton Varsho's in the lineup, Addison Barger kind of stretches things. There's quality down here. Andres Jimenez is already all the way down to the 8 spot. But they're at least a little bit longer of a lineup now. Yeah, Vladdy's stats aren't showing because of that junior. Oh, I know why. I took it off the StatCast board, but accidentally put it on the lineup. So Vladdy at just 4,900, 2,900. Yeah, that's interesting to me against Lucas Giolito's debut. I do think Giolito could give you 5, maybe 6. We could see fully unleashed Giolito just out of the gate here, considering the 86 pitches in his last appearance. But they'll probably be a little bit more conservative than that. 7,500, 7,800. For what he once was, those would be at least appealing dice rolls. 25.7% strikeouts 2 years ago in 33 starts. But you can see 4.88 ERA, a 4.45 xFIP, lot of home runs, a lot of barrels. There's major downside with Giolito. He never really turned into the pitcher that once upon a time he was supposed to be. 4.90 ERA, a 3.66 xFIP back in 22. Strikeouts have always been real. He can twirl the ball a little bit, but there's a lot of downside, and Vegas has given that to us with a 4.79 implied total on the Blue Jays. 2 of them are above the magic number in the home run model. It's the 2 guys you'd expect, Vladdy and Santander. But you've also got 3 guys in the 8s. Dalton Varsho rejoining the team, made a circus catch in the outfield. I believe that was yesterday out in center field. Was running back toward the warning track, fell down, and then like behind his back caught the ball. Ridiculous. Very cheap. Went over in that game. Last year, 18 home runs, 10 steals. 20 home runs, 16 steals. 2 seasons ago, over 581 plate appearances. He's never going to hit for average. Never going to be a reliable on-base option. Never going to really give you a consistent barrel rate or anything to brag about in his premium contact department. But when we're just hunting cheap DFS options to pad out a stack, he projects pretty well. The power comes through the model at 8.49 against a pitcher like Giolito, who is pushing a ton of power upside right there, and he's cheap. That 5-man off the top there is $4,300 a piece. The top 4 on FanDuel is $2,800 a piece. And you're getting Bo Bichette, Vladdy, and Santander in that, plus George Springer. Santander's been concerning. No support from the ex-Woba. Terrible results. No support from his contact. We're just riding with the career history at this point. But again, the model's got a very long memory for that sort of thing. 12.41 in your home run model today. Bo Bichette, 8.41 as a home run mark. 298, 333, 371 slash line to start his year. Hasn't really connected for much power, but a 48.1% hard hit rate is good. He's driving the ball. 383 ex-Woba suggests we're going to see some power arrive, suggests that everything we've seen in terms of his ability to get on base and create runs should continue to climb back to previous expectations of like what he was in 2022 or 2023 rather. 2024 was just kind of a lost half season for him. So very encouraging start for Bo Bichette. Springer off to an encouraging start himself. 313, 396, 494 has maintained over 97 plate appearances, 14.5% barrels. Nice start. Nice to see him kind of come back to life. The 363 ex-Woba is telling us it's kind of real. One of the few positive run creators on this team. Alejandro Kirk, down lineup, mix and match quality catcher. Every now and then you get him turn on a ball. Barger, at least a little bit interesting. Third base and outfield, not really ideal at third. You probably pop him into the outfield, but you got 3 other appealing outfielders up here. So I don't love the positionality of it. In a small sample of 24 plate appearances, he's got a 10.5% barrel rate, which is kind of interesting. Strikeouts are down at 16.7%, not drawing any walks. So you're just fishing around for some high quality bat on ball. But we've seen this before. 225 plate appearances last year. Sub Mendoza, 250 on base, 70 WRC plus. And then Andres Jimenez, at least he's not hitting cleanup for this team anymore. Sub Mendoza at 171, 267 on base, a 295 slug, 66 WRC plus. That created awfully fast. And then Ernie Clement in the lineup in the last spot, and that's good for him. This goes Red Sox bats, Blue Jays bats. No thank you on any of the pitching, the combination pitchers over here. And for me, I'm not taking shots with Giolito today. I think we need to see it a couple times, and we need to see the plus upside version of it. We've got both of these. Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns is at worst on the board today, even with the Mets. 4.31 implied total for New York. It's not the most outrageous total on the board, but it's higher than we would want it. Burns only striking out 21.9% over his first few starts. 26 and 2/3, 5 starts. He's induced a 9.3% swinging, limited CSW so far. The results have been right around true. 4.05 ERA and a 3.97 xFIP. It's allowed too many barrels, way too many hard hits, too much exit velo, few home runs. But his stuff has been a little above average. That's encouraging. It's not where it was last year at 119, but at least it's encouraging. 2.92 ERA, a 3.55 xFIP last year. Just a 2.81% home run rate. Was excellent at missing premium contact. Excellent at limiting hard hits. 31.6% hard hits last year. And we want to believe that he's going to be at 52% this year. I'm not buying that. Way too much on the line with Corbin Burns. 2 years ago, 3.39 ERA, 3.81 xFIP, 25.5% strikeouts, 2.81% home run rate, just 5.3% barrels. It's way too good to keep giving up that much premium contact, that much upside. The strikeouts should return. 9,000, not a bad price. 9,100, not a bad price. Struck out 8 Rays in his last performance. 1 earned run, 3 runs total in 5 1/3. Allowed just 3 hits, but walked 3. 6 innings in each of 2 starts before that. 2 earned runs to the Cubbies at Wrigley. Only struck out 3, and then only struck out 3 in the game against Milwaukee. Gave up 3 earned runs on 4 hits in that one, including a homer. Just 3 strikeouts against Washington in his second start of the season, all the way back on April 6th, but had an 8 strikeout game in his debut against the Yankees. I'm not concerned about Corbin Burns finding his form along the way this year. I'm not really all that skeptical about his ability to perform at these prices, which are notably lower than some of the other top-end pitchers of the day. It's just this matchup that's not great about this. 18.1% strikeout rate so far for this Mets team, including the entire top five below 20%, 16.4% for that top five. Last year, that was more like 22.3, so we'll get some normalization in there. But Vientos might not go all the way back to 29.8. Pete Alonso, probably not going to stay at 15, but might not go all the way back to 25. He was only at 23 2 years ago. And then, obviously, Soto, Lindor, those guys are just excellent. Very threatening matchup. This would maybe be a spot where I'd say like a 3-2 kind of ratio with Burns on the plus side of that. But you want to have some Mets in your portfolio today. And then for the Mets, it's Huáscar Brazoban opening. Don't think we're playing him for an inning. And then it's Brandon Waddell. Waddell, as I mentioned at the top of the show, last pitched in the show back in 2021. He's been in the KBO for 3 years. He's 31 years old. He made 5 starts in AAA for the Mets this season. He's carrying a 21.6% strikeout rate and a 7.2% walk rate with a 3.24 FIP in the minors this year. Struck out 3 over 4 innings in his most recent start against Boston's affiliate. 5 strikeouts in a 6-inning performance, 4 strikeouts in a 5-inning performance. But he's going up against a really effective major league lineup in the Diamondbacks today. I don't think we're going there in the bulk relief role. Just doesn't feel right. D-backs at 4.28. I think against that combination of pitchers, you can consider some D-backs. Tim Tawa in the leadoff role at 3,400, 2,700. He hit 4 early home runs over his 60 plate appearances. Everything else has been kind of ugly. The contact has been good, 10.3% barrels, 0.373 xwOBA, and he's created a run 17% better than average, but everything probably comes down over time. He's just cheap in the leadoff role. Corbin Carroll at 6,143, 9 home runs already this year, 426 xwOBA. Any concerns from the first half of last year have been completely erased by how he corrected last season and how great he's looked so far this year. This is a superstar and justifiably priced like one. 9.70 on the home run model. Randall Grichuk making great contact to start his year over 42 plate appearances. Hasn't really seen results from it. Just a 290 xwOBA suggests that any results he would see would have been kind of lucky. 14.8% barrels and 55.6% hard hits would be the thing to focus on for the cheap price there against a weak combination on the mound. Eugenio Suarez is just cheap at 4,500 for the premium contact that buys. 18.8% barrels, 59.4% hard hits. He's got 10 home runs on the board. He's also sub Mendoza, 302 on base, 535 slug. 337 ISO. I only buy Eugenio Suarez for power. I don't really care if he singles and gets to first base. I just want the home runs. So he's always in my Diamondbacks lineup. Josh Naylor, 51-31. Very good start to his Diamondbacks career. 4 home runs, 4 steals. We're worried about the ongoing power upside for Naylor, but that's more about their home park than it is playing in Queens today. Love Naylor for the price. 44.2% hard hit. Just 3,100 on FanDuel with an 8.37 in the home run model today. Nothing not to like about that spot. Gabriel Moreno, very cheap where you need to play catchers at 2,900. 64 WRC plus is uncharacteristic for him. 313 on base. This is a kid who's good at getting on base. He's low strikeout. He's drawing a bunch of walks. That should go up. There's some bad luck in there. So excellent option for the very, very cheap price against the combination of pitchers. Lourdes Gurriel, very playable. He's been bad over 109 plate appearances at 168, 193, 327, especially at 193 on base. Jeez. 35 WRC plus. He's at least hit 4 home runs. He's delivered in that department. The barrels and the hard hits aren't off that far from where they were last year. It's a much better hitter than this overall. Jorge Barrosa at the dead min on both sides. Hasn't given us much over 12, but he doesn't cost anything. In 367 minor league plate appearances, 329 of which were in AAA last year. 9 home runs, 13 steals, 266, 352, 420. Struck out just 18%, walked 10.9. He's not completely uninteresting at the dead min price, again, against a guy who hasn't been capable of pitching in the major leagues at all, really, and was a KBO pitcher. You could throw that in there for min price. Like, let's say you don't put Tawa at second. You start there. 1, 2, 3. We'll grab our priorities first. For a little connectivity, we'll go Moreno. We'll fill out our catcher, and then we'll go there. It's an oddball 5-man. It's not going to be one that people are commonly building. But now I'm getting Carroll, Suarez, Naylor, Gavin Moreno, who's effective enough, and then Barossa for $4,100 apiece over a 5-man. So I'm shaving $2,000 off the price of Corbin Carroll if I'm talking about it, the average down. Not bad. He helps things work. Garrett Hampson is a lot more skippable. Mets lineup, your priorities are your top 4, obviously, plus Francisco Alvarez and Luis Angel down lineup. 5,200, 3,700 is a very good price for Lindor. He's at 302, 364, 491. His creator runs 39% better than average. 6 home runs, you just play him. You don't worry about Juan Soto either. 250, 374, 398. He's getting on base. The xWOBA is there. 120 WRC plus. It's not like he's been bad. He just hasn't been quite what you would expect from a billion-dollar player. Not quite what he was in pinstripes, we could say. Pete Alonso, 20.5% barrels, proving his worth. 7 home runs, slashing 346, 462, 664, 475 xWOBA. Kind of like Pete arrived this season and said, I'm going to make the rest of the league pay for nobody wanting me as a free agent. And he has done so this year. 8.42 in the home run model might not be enough, but it is Corbin Burns on the mound. Mark Vientos at just 34.29. Might swing and miss a few times against Corbin Burns here, but if he connects, he can definitely drive the ball out of the yard even against this pitcher. 3 home runs on the board, a 300 xWOBA, 160 ISO, 88 WRC plus in a shaky start, but was excellent last season. Starling Marte is a mix and match piece who hasn't really been hitting for typical average. 2 home runs, 2 steals, but once we get him going, get him on base, we're just looking for hit tool and some stolen base, correlated scoring upside. He's perfectly playable at those prices. You just expect it to come around. Jeff McNeil, not my favorite hitter, very, very reliant on BABIP. But if we're looking for a correlated scoring piece for cheap pricing at second base, that's where I would put him. Probably not in the outfield, but he's nothing more than a mix and match hitter. Francisco Alvarez has real power. He's very affordable at 36 at catcher, 10% barrels in a very tiny sample of 18 plate appearances. Has a home run on the board already this year. Masher when he's engaged and going right. 35-24 for Luis Angel, who's holding down a 300, 355, 371 slash line with 7 stolen bases. Has created runs 9% better than average by WRC plus over 76 plate appearances. That's the way I'd rather spend my second base share if I'm going to this lineup for the position than going to Jeff McNeil. Luis Angel is a more interesting hitter than Jeff McNeil. And then Tyrone Taylor, 25-23, just at 195, 235, 273. That's not really all that appealing. Feel like he had a good game, though, didn't he? Did he come through last night? What we see from Tyrone Taylor is the ability to put bat on ball from time to time, and he's one of those sneaky down lineup options who can fill out the occasional stack. He is in no way a priority. Double a run scored and 2 ribbies last night. All right, I knew I saw something from him. I had actually thought he hit his first home run last night. But 25-23, just cheap bat on ball from the bottom of the lineup if you need to differentiate a Mets lineup, if you need to average down pricing a little bit. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and go Corbin Burns up top. Followed immediately by Mets bats, then Diamondbacks bats. Well, I'm going to reverse that. Corbin Burns, Diamondbacks bats, then Mets bats, and nothing from the Mets pitching staff. Brewers and the White Sox are both confirmed. We'll talk about an interesting value pitcher in this game. Brewers are a gettable enough lineup. Schoenberg has Shane Smith, excuse me. Schoenberg was the follower yesterday. Has enough reasonable talent, has enough expectations. A 12.1% swinging strike rate is at least encouraging. He's been on a couple of Rob Friedman's pitching clips. So for 7,000, for 7,500, it's probably a DraftKings play. It's been good at keeping power off the board so far, but that's kind of just a little bit of luck there. Given a 14.9 degree average launch angle, we are seeing fly balls, and they've been well struck. They just haven't managed to get out of the ballpark. Stuff Plus doesn't love the arsenal. He's pitched to a 2.30 ERA, but there's a 4.36 xFIP lingering underneath that. He had a 29.6% strikeout rate in 94 and a third innings, mostly at AA last year. Did not make many AAA appearances at all. Year before in 59 and 2/3, all as a reliever in mostly high A, some in A ball, about an even split actually. Combined, that resulted in a 37.1% strikeout rate and a 9% walk rate. But again, that's working as a reliever and again, also against A ball and high A pitching. He's 25. He's arriving on time. Fairly decently regarded prospect. I don't think he ever cracked top 100, but he's a top 10 prospect in this organization. So I think there's playability there. He's a dart throw here. We have seen some innings. Just 5 in his last start, but pitched pretty clean. No earned runs, 4 hits allowed to the Twins at Minnesota, struck out 7 and walked 1. That's an ideal performance for the price. We do have 2 6-inning starts. That was his second and third start of the year. One against Cleveland at Cleveland. Shut them out over 6 innings. 2-hitter. Struck out 6, walked 1. Give up 2 earned runs on 5 hits to the Red Sox over 6 in his third start. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. Not a great outing, but not a disaster. 5 2/3, so he went out for the 6th inning in his debut against Minnesota. 2 earned runs on 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, but walked 4. I suspect since they didn't let him finish the 6th, I don't have it in front of me, probably we saw a couple of those walks in that 6th inning. But the fact that they let him go out for the 6th in his first start of the year and then in his subsequent 2 starts speaks to the ability to book the quality start on FanDuel if things go well. There are some strikeouts to be had in this Brewers lineup. So far, they're at a 19.2% rate, but that's including the 4.9 on Caleb Durbin. If we just took that out, we'd be showing a 21% right there, which is the more realistic number. If you talk about just those guys up there, it's 21.8. You've obviously got some extreme strikeout guys. So there are targets for Shane Smith. It's very hit and miss, though. There are no promises being made here. You can see it's only resulted in a 20% strikeout rate, despite a 12.1% swinging. He's walked a few too many guys, but gotten away with it. 26.2% CSW, not quite where we want it. You take the good with the bad when you go to a play like this. Tobias Myers against the White Sox is 72-82, projects out just fine for the money. We're talking about a guy who's made 1 start, thrown 4 pretty mediocre innings, pretty bad innings actually this season. Last year, over 138 outings, though, 25 starts, 22.3% strikeouts, pitched to a 3.0 ERA, but a 3.97 xFIP. Gave up some power, but it wasn't tragic. 91.85. Stuff Plus doesn't really like the arsenal, doesn't really induce many swinging strikes, but probably capable enough of holding this White Sox lineup down toward that kind of a total. A 3-run day would not surprise me at all with a solo home run from Lou Bob, kind of like what we saw from this team yesterday. So Myers is very, very playable, more playable on DraftKings than on FanDuel, but easily usable on either side. It's all about that matchup. Brewers bats, if you're going there, Bryce Turang's appealing. They're carrying a 4.20 implied total. Turang's holding down 317, 368, 408 to start his season. A 360x WOBA is very appealing. He's dramatically increased his barrels and hard hits in the small sample so far, but that sample's growing. So there's upside there. 3 home runs, 8 steals, stole a ton of bases last year. If the power finally arrived, this is an interesting player up top. Jackson Chourio, burgeoning star, 10.1% barrels, 46.5% hard hits, 6 homers, 303x WOBA needs to come up, but 242 ISO, creating runs 21% better than average. Strikeouts slightly up. The walks are an issue. That's where his on base is. But that'll come around, or it won't, honestly, and he'll still hit 30 home runs and be fantastic. Christian Yelich at 48.37 is still a star. 48.7% hard hits, slashing just 231, 347, 404, but creating runs 10% better than average. 351 xWOBA hiding under there. 5 home runs on the board, 6 stolen bases, just include Christian Yelich. William Contreras, still playing catcher, 4,300, very valuable at that position, 248, 358, 356. He's been getting on base, but the xWOB is down a little bit. The run creation mark is down and betrays his 358 on base. The barrels have kind of gone away. The hard hits have gone away in a small sample. But we've got enough meat on the bone sample-wise with this catcher over time to suggest that we're coming back. So I don't think this is going to be problematic for very long. I think you get him while he's kind of cheap on DraftKings. On FanDuel at 31, I have no issues playing him instead of Rhys Hoskins. That's probably more of a back and forth situation with Rhys Hoskins' power, the contact he's making, the results he's seen so far this year. But in either or lineups that include both of them, perfectly playable. Sal Frelick, hit tool, speed, correlated scoring, getting on at a 383 clip, 7 steals, 124 WRC plus. Not a power bat in any way, shape, or form, but going to be low strikeout all season. Going to see first base a lot and going to do some running. Rhys Hoskins at 39.29 has 3 home runs, but is slashing 289, 400, 422, which is interesting. 356 xWOBA, 9.2% barrels and 46.2% hard hits. Rhys Hoskins doing a lot so far to prove that he's not dead. Jake Bauers at 4,025, 2 home runs, 340 xWOBA suggests that we should see more quality as time goes on. Creating runs 16% better than average in a 39 plate appearance sample. There's always going to be a lot of strikeouts, but he can draw his walks. He's a low-end version of a 3 true outcomes hitter. Few too many strikeouts, not enough premium results in terms of the power, but he does fit that mold. 15.8% barrels and 47.4% hard hits in a small sample of batted ball events. He's got his place in stacks. Joey Ortiz is difficult to justify at this point. He's just a spot filler for cheap. Wouldn't really consider that at shortstop. Maybe a few shares at second base to deepen Brewer stacks across a bunch of them. And then Caleb Durbin is a mix and match guy in the bottom spot in the lineup. If you're going White Sox, you probably could against Tobias Myers. He's non-threatening, but there's still not much to work with. As we've talked about many times, it's 1, 2, and that's about it. Gage Workman, Brooks Baldwin, Lenin Sosa, Matt Dace, Miguel Vargas. There's nothing really appealing here. So we're talking about a 2-man lineup, and one of those 2 guys is a star caliber talent who's mired at 158, 283, 305. Had a good day yesterday, stole his 11th base, hit his 4th home run. We know that Lou Bob is much, much better than this. But right now, you're just getting a very good price on him. Andrew Vaughn is better than what we've seen in the slash line so far. He's hit 3 home runs. The 326 xWOBA supports that, but he's never really landed at the major league level either. Or at the major league level. I shouldn't have said either because Lou Bob very much has. 15.9% barrels and 52.4% hard hits if we need justification for why he's our number 2 man in stacks. And honestly, that's it. I really don't want much Josh Palacios. I really don't want much Andrew Benintendi. I just don't think he's good. And the numbers back that up. I don't want much Miguel Vargas. There's nothing to work with here. You're just putting together shares of random guys who very few of which are even close to halfway to the magic number in the home run model. Nobody's really barreling the ball, including 4 guys in the double digits. This is still an 8.7% barrel rate overall, which would be fine if that was where everybody was. But this is a low-end team. Shane Smith. Tobias. Nah, I can't do that to you. I guess I'll say Tobias Myers and Shane Smith are tied. And then it's Brewers bats. And then it's don't really play the White Sox outside of a few darts. If you put the Brewers bats on top of both of these pitchers, that would also very much work for me. But just for value on DK that they're showing, I'll throw the pitchers on top. Rounding things out here. These lineups are also confirmed. We'll have all the lineups after we finish up our live show here. So we wind all the way to the end of the show to find our next most competent pitcher, Nathan Eovaldi, 9,200, 9,700, dealing so far this year. 2.21 ERA, 2.59 xFIP, to say that it's very, very real. 27.1% Ks, just a 2.1% microscopic walk rate so far. A .74 whip is spectacular. 13.4% swinging strike rate, 30% CSW. There's a lot of few barrels along the way, but it's been on a low launch angle. We haven't gotten burnt for home runs. We don't really care about it in terms of the hard hits. The exit velo, if it's going to be mostly on the ground, and that's a sustainable attribute for him. 170 and 2/3 last year looks a lot like that did. 3.80 ERA, 3.47 xFIP. 23.9% strikeout rate, but a similar 13% swinging strike rate. Seems like he's really kind of wrangled the talent so far this season. Going up against a very threatening, good A's lineup that has a lot of power in it, has a few good lefties in it, but also has some Ks in it, and definitely could yield their home run upside to a pitcher like Eovaldi. Last time out, 7 strikeouts, 0 earned runs over 6 innings, 3 hits allowed to San Francisco at San Francisco. 2 earned runs, 3 runs total on 5 hits to the Dodgers over 6, struck out 7, walked 0. A couple of in the middle of this 6-start run here, he faced the Cubs and Seattle and struck out just 4 Cubs and 3 Mariners, allowed 3 runs and 2 runs and came out of those games in shorter stints. That was after his complete game shutout. It's maybe a little oddball blip there and was still perfectly competent. Just didn't strike out as many in those 2 appearances, and you would expect him to find some Ks against the Mariners, but came right back with 7 strikeouts in those last 2. So easily number 2 on the board behind Sanchez, or you could easily rank him number 1 on the board. Love him at these prices. Definitely easy to play. And then there's Luis Severino. 3.49 ERA, but a 4.09 xFIP, just an 18.4% strikeout rate. Not really allowing much in terms of barrels. He is a fly ball trajectory pitcher, though, and there's some hard hits, some good exit velo there. So you would expect that the home run number would go up, but Stuff Plus supports the arsenal and its effectiveness through space and time every time he throws a pitch. So there is playability on Sevy, given how short this pitching slate is. He's made 6 at least somewhat competent starts. 7 strikeouts in his last game, allowed 3 earned runs on 6 hits over 6 to the White Sox. Faced the Brewers over 8, just 1 earned run on 3 hits. Only struck out 1 in that game. That had an impact on the strikeout numbers, but was otherwise perfectly good. 6 strikeouts over 5 2/3 against the Mets. 2 6-strikeout games to begin his year against the Mariners and the Cubs. It's just a little bit of threatening with the upside that the Rangers are showing at a 4.72 implied total, pulling in a decent number of decent projection, pulling in several very high-end home run marks. But that you have to at least consider 2 of those 10-plus marks for home run upside come from guys that are mired way below, well, 1 way below the Mendoza line and 1 hovering around it. These 2 have been miserable this season. I think there's playability here at worst on both sides. 8,000 is a good price on DraftKings. 88 is very playable on FanDuel. Sevy is capable of getting you to your quality start. Among the name brands on the slate, he's probably the lowest end, but he's very playable. That said, I prefer the Rangers bats in the head-to-head. But starting with the A's against Eovaldi, not a great spot, but you can see 3.88. It's not like they're the White Sox at a 3.3 something. Lawrence Butler's excellent. 8.03 in the home run model, 4 home runs on the board, 5 steals, a 113 WRC plus. The xWOBA at 296 is kind of concerning. We want to see that higher than that. Otherwise, we could expect a downturn a little bit. We'll see where it ends up, but is very, very good for counting stats. Very good for premium contact so far in his career. I like the player a lot. 5,000, 3,500 is perfectly fair. Jacob Wilson, excellent hit tool. 112 plate appearances. We're at 321, 333, 459. Creating runs 27% better than average. 5.4% strikeout rate with a 1.8% walk rate. He's been excellent this season. Setting the table ahead of Tyler Soderstrom, ahead of Brent Rooker, ahead of Shea Langoliers and all that power. Look at that stretch that you get right there with power bats. Soderstrom with outfield eligibility now, so you don't have the positional conflict there, is dynamite. 9+ for Soderstrom in the home run model, 9.87 for Brent Rooker, 8.14 for Shea Langoliers. And then the rookie, Mr. Kurtz, comes in at 7.41. Yet to find his first home run in the show over 21 plate appearances. Yet to barrel a ball. But the power is very, very real for this player. So love that stretch of 4 power bats. Really like those 2 guys as a starting point for a bunch of mix and match stacks if you're building with this team. It's just a really good pitcher on the mound against them, but they're not going to be as owned as they've been in a lot of slates this year. So you could get that sneaky upside day out of the A's. It's not completely incomprehensible that Eovaldi could get got here. It's not a high probability option either, but you can see the quality just kind of shining through for the A's. Against a lot of other pitchers, this stretch would be several guys above 10, and then Kurt's probably in the 8s and 9s. By the way, Kurt's only 2,200 is a bargain on FanDuel. 35 on DraftKings is too cheap too. Luis Urias is playable at 26-23. He's got 4 home runs and 55 plate appearances. 359 xWOBA. He hit just 4 all of last year in 109 plate appearances and was sub Mendoza. Was sub Mendoza the year before with just 3 in 177 plate appearances. Season before that, back in 22, he had 16 homers in 472 plate appearances. There's a little bit of pop there. JJ Bleday, a little bit of power in that bat as well. Line drive hitter with a little bit of occasional home run upside. And then Gio Urshela, not much of a bat. If you're going to the Rangers, the preferred side of this equation, Wyatt Langford at 5,600 is definitely appealing. He's hit 6 home runs. He's stolen 4 bases. He's creating runs 94% better than average. Monster xWOBA sitting at 401, 13.8% barrels. There is nothing not to like about this start. He's just delivering on his talent. He was good last year. He's been better this year. I think you get him while he's still only 5,000. 3,600 is coming up on FanDuel, the most appealing player in this lineup. Josh Smith, 35-29. Not a great buy, but as long as he's hitting second and as long as that price stays cheap, he's capable of keeping this pace up for a little bit and contributing when this team's facing mediocre pitching. So I would include Smith. I like the 3-position eligibility on FanDuel. He's not ideal at shortstop. I probably play him more often than not in the outfield and reserve shortstop, and third on FanDuel for better players. But he's been putting up his numbers over 83. I highlighted it yesterday. Last year, he did this for a longer stretch and still finished at 258, 337, 394. Created runs 11% better than average, was good, but was not great. 13 homers, 11 steals. So he's not as good as he's looked so far this year, but he's not bad. Jake Berger, we're at least riding 13% barrels and 50% hard hits because otherwise we're at just 3 home runs. We're at just a 304 xWOBA, 152 ISO. 196, 240, 348. We just need to have faith that the power we've seen over the last few years is going to arrive, and the barrels and hard hits are encouraging for that. Jock Peterson, 80 plate appearances of 100, 203, 171 with no home run. That's the most shocking thing. A 10 WRC plus. Jock hit 23 against righties last year in 449. Maybe 1 was against the lefty, but primarily in there's a platoon option against righties. 15 in 425 opportunities 2 years ago. 23 in 433 back in 2022. This is just a piece of upside at this price. There's no reason to think that he couldn't find his home run power finally today and have just a good day at 24 across sites in the outfield for you. He's just too good against righties to keep this up. The barrels have been halved. The hard hits have been down by 10 points. He's been atrocious this year, but he's hitting cleanup at that price in this lineup against this pitcher today. If you're going there on DraftKings, your top 5, which includes him and Marcus Semien, is 3,280 apiece, 3,300 apiece. Your top 4 on FanDuel is 2,900 apiece for one of the more highly ranked stacks of the day. And then you get good players hiding down here. Semien at 28-26. No signs of life just yet. 316 xWOBA, but at least maybe something to say there that at least this is underperforming that. But really needs to find it. 9.3% barrels is maybe encouraging. Strikeouts are up, but still sub 20%. Walks are slightly up and around where they need to be. Josh Young barreling a lot of balls. Good hard hit rate, seeing good results at 282, 317, 449, creating runs 18% better than average. He's more interesting in a long-term sense than Josh Smith. He's the better of those 2 players, but Smith with the lefty bat, the better lineup spot is probably the higher priority. But going back and forth with those guys where they share positions on FanDuel for similar price is perfectly fine. Adolis Garcia is a bargain at 38-28. 4 home runs, 4 steals. Sure, we haven't gotten great production, over 113 plate appearances, 91 WRC plus. Okay, the run creation's been down. 8.66 in the home run model, carrying a 354 xWOBA tells us everything's going to be fine. Barrels are up in the small sample at 18.2. Hard hits are up in the small sample at 51.9. Strikeouts are down. Walks are also down a little bit, but as long as he keeps doing this, I think we get the upside 30-something home runs version of Adolis in the long term. You take that play when you're going to this team today against Luis Severino. It's one of the best power options on the team. Jonah Heim can definitely turn on one as a cheap catcher. He's got 4 home runs on the board. It's carrying a 335 xWOBA, 9.1% barrels. Very playable on DraftKings where you need catchers. Less playable on FanDuel, especially when you've got other options at first base. But if you're building a bunch of Ranger stacks, you absolutely include some shares of Jonah Heim on FanDuel. And then Leody Taveras to round out the entire show. 6 stolen bases on the year. Doing a few Leody Taveras type things in terms of delivering some counting stats from the bottom of the lineup when nobody owns him. Not very good, but he's sneaky and could give you that kind of upside. One last look at the pitching board at the end of a long show. That's not the pitching board. I didn't get all the way over where I wanted to be. There it is. So top 2 options. We're not going to be concerned about Sanchez. Even if he goes 5 for 82 on DraftKings, you're perfectly fine. And for 10-2 on FanDuel, I'll deal with it. I'm going to play him. Evaldi, if you're panicked about Sanchez, just go to more Evaldi shares. Rasmussen is a downgrade from those two, but is similarly projected for a cheaper price. Boyd, I like the least out of this top group of pitchers. That top group of pitchers. But he's in there. And he's got the best matchup going up against Pittsburgh. So he's very playable. Like I said when we were talking about him, I've seen so much Matthew Boyd over time that I'm not happy about paying 94 for him. 84, much more playable. Corbin Burns, super playable. You could get a total return to form. It's just the Mets on the other side that's a bit daunting. This is just about the matchup for a cheap price. This is interesting because people probably less inclined to go there, and Sevy has not been bad. So maybe you catch a little sneaky upside with Sevy against the Rangers, but Vegas is on the Rangers side. The power index is on their side. The projections are on their side, the Rangers side. Jake Irvin is a pretty hard no for me against Philly, despite projecting in like the middle of the board because I'm seeing a lot of power and upside for Philly. Shane Smith between those two is much more interesting for a cheaper price going up against a weaker Milwaukee lineup with similar upside. So I would go Smith over Jake Irvin with those two. Povich is a pretty hard no. 55 on DraftKings. You can throw that dart a few times and hope for the strikeout upside to come through against the Yanks and hope he miraculously keeps the power off the board. Giolito is difficult to envision success. He's at least very cheap if he has his strikeout stuff going and they do actually let him go 6 innings. Maybe he gets there. That's a cheap price to find out. I would throw the dart a few times where I would need to on DraftKings. Less inclined to on FanDuel because I really don't think we're getting a quality start. Matt says a no. Cameron is interesting at the dead min price because he's got a little bit of strikeout upside and, again, min price and reasonable expectation to go 5. Chase Petty, not sure at 66 that we go there. Eric Lauer is working in bulk relief behind Jadiel Rodriguez and not on the board. Mladzinski is not appealing. You're just hoping that he checks the Cubs' power, but they're going to sequence him to death and score a bunch of runs. Carrasco, as I said when we were talking about that game, you just want to have a little 5 innings, 5 hits, no runs, but only 3 strikeouts. He could do that. He's very unlikely to do that, but he could do that. That's the only appeal there. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Lar. I really appreciate everybody who's been hanging out all this time. That was a 2-hour and 20-minute show. I know a bunch more people were in here during the middle of it and have come and gone, and some might be listening on replay, but let me get these lineups updated before this damn slate starts in under an hour. And I will thank you guys. I'll say somebody out there, go win something tonight. Share the results when you do. Good luck out. I said it backward. Good luck out there. Somebody go win something. We'll see you tomorrow.